You're watching the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Now it's time for the Brent Austen Show.
Wow, which one is that? I don't know if we had this sky cam in the past. We haven't shown this one, but the bridges are closed unless they've reopened. But I don't think they've reopened. Doesn't look like they're busy. So bridges are closed in Jacksonville. This is crazy. This wild thing since I've been here, I think. That you look at the Matthews and the Hart and closed right now. So, well, they said probably shouldn't go out today. Would be a good idea. And there are enough people on the roads that I just came up from St. Johns County, and it wasn't bad. But I think anywhere north of the city, you're talking about a different thing. So, hey, we got we had to be appropriate today. I shoveled this morning some sand out of my driveway.
Bruh.
I talked to a guy yesterday up in Georgia. He's like, "Yeah, I got 3 inches of snow right now." It's crazy, man. Like this, just I was watching Corey Simon and Trevor Gibbs do the forecast last night before I was going on in sports, and it's just like they're like, it's going to be wintry mix and 2 to 4 inches, like doing all different parts of the area. I'm like, what the hell is this? So weird to hear like a Jacksonville meteorologist talk about actual snow in the area. And by the way, it did happen, Austin. Like you saw it, Pensacola, all the way to Louisiana. Yeah. And I saw Burrish happening up north of the border today. There was some fluffy snow up there. So apparently we got snow flurries just a short time ago in Jacksonville, the north side, out toward Lake City as well. Actually did see snow in the area.
So yeah, that's insane. So why are the bridges closed? Just because of
black ice.
It could be freezing rain.
Apparently they saw black. They reported black ice on the bridge, so they shut them down. Because the big thing, obviously, around here is you can't treat it. You don't have the stuff to treat that you would up in Wisconsin and Rhode Island and other places. Apparently, they
just go to Publix and buy some salt. It ain't a big deal. You got it.
That's right.
Just some salt.
Just the craziest thing, though, man. Just I can't get it out. Like I'm showing pictures of Tiger Stadium yesterday in snow. The New Orleans pictures are unbelievable, and it's just wild. It's pretty. It's kind of cool. I feel like in a way I missed out. Like Steph, I saw Steph last night, and I was like, man, we probably should have went. And like, yeah, I thought about it, but it's like we've seen snow before, but if you have not seen snow before, and maybe didn't make a chase out to Tallahassee or something, you kind of missed it. Like that would have been a cool thing, right? I mean, look at Baton Rouge. That is unreal. They'll play a football game there in September, and it'll be 150.
I know.
But,
baseball season right around the corner.
I mean,
that's crazy.
Hey, man, that's the other thing that's wild to me, right? Because high school baseball and softball has started. Obviously, we have lived in that world. Well, Kaylee plays a game on Saturday down at Daytona State. She's playing a game. Her first game is Saturday. We're talking about snow here on Tuesday. It's going to be chilly all the rest of the week, too. Like, even in that game down there in Daytona, I think the high is like 55. And by the way, Daytona Beach, 55 degrees with the wind blowing off isn't necessarily warm. So pretty wild. Hey, it'll be 75 and sunny soon enough. So I guess we'll enjoy it a little bit while it lasts.
I mean, enjoy that nice ocean breeze, because this would have been 2 days ago for MLK Day when my son was off. He, because I always have a rule. I'm like, if you want to go play football, if you want to run routes, regardless of how tired I am, regardless of what it looks like, we can do that. And he wanted to go Monday. And I tried telling him, like, all right, man, it's going to probably be a little windy at the beach. It's going to be a little chilly. But if you want to, we can. I thought he would eventually back out. But nope, we're out there for an hour. I had my hoodie and my sweatpants on, freezing my butt off, and he's running around having a blast. And then he had an Oregon towel, so he was like waving the towel around like it was a flag. It was just, it was unreal. And yeah, so like I'm happy that he wants to like work on his craft. That's great, and that's great and everything. But hey, let's work on our craft. You know, maybe more visualization inside as opposed to going outside by the beach. But
got a couple of touchdowns.
Got a couple of touchdowns. Yeah.
That's got to put the work in, man.
This one.
Hey,
I know.
Is that frozen, Hamby?
Yes.
So that's the camera's frozen.
No, it's ice. Yeah,
I mean, there's like an icicle on it.
Right.
Wow.
Ah, that's awesome. Well, it looks like the Jags offense all year.
Oh, boy.
Come on, what else can we come up
Off
with?
to a hot start, Brent.
Come on, what else can we come up with?
Yeah.
Got to be a little better than that. Hey,
Sure.
if you do have, I guess you can't send on YouTube some pictures. YouTube's got to fix that. Maybe they shouldn't. You should be able to. You can email us some of your snow pictures. Glenn saying he was, what did he say? Lived 2 years in Wisconsin. Is that Beloit, Wisconsin?
Oh, Beloit? Yeah, man.
Okay. You do pronounce the OIT like that?
Beloit Turner? Yeah, yep. Beloit.
And he was born and raised in Long Island, which means all you did was get like that mucky, ugly sleet, snow mix, because that's the worst. All right, Yulee baseball, there you go. And you got it all working right now, Hamby. I see. So send us your, did you get any snow if you're up in the Georgia area, or maybe you're listening in Louisiana, or I don't know, where else did we get? Did we get any in Alabama or west coast of Florida?
Mississippi got some, I know.
Did they?
Great state of Mississippi, Brent. One of the best states there is.
Yeah, Mississippi. We love Mississippi on this show. I know others don't in
Boy,
town,
do we.
but we love Mississippi. They do get snow sometimes in Mississippi anyway. Like, it's a little more common,
Yeah, true.
in some of the parts. Minus 20 Celsius in Toronto. Trophy Kid, you're checking in from Toronto? How about that? Minus 20 Celsius. What is that? Somebody do an equation for us. What is that Fahrenheit?
I'm not good at math. Hamby.
Come on, Amby. I hear you typing.
-4 degrees Fahrenheit.
-4. Real temps. That's not cool. That's not good. All right, I'll take my hat off then because I'm hot. But I figured I'd go with the winter look for the day. I feel like I'm shoveling or skiing or doing whatever. I don't miss winter, but this was kind of a fun couple of days here in Jacksonville. All right, it's like you gave the chat the homework assignment. I said, hey, what are we going to talk about a little bit today? Obviously, we're going to talk a little more Liam Coen. He's the hot guy right now. Probably the odds-on favorite, although I still think I saw some odds that say Saleh's the odds-on favorite to get the job, like a minus 130 for Saleh, which to me surprised me. But you asked, like, okay, what do you pair it up with? Like, what Liam Coen, offensive coordinator, what about a defensive guy? I think a lot of people have in their dreams, like it's going to be Saleh or even maybe a Patrick Graham. I would say Patrick Graham would be more in play than Saleh as a defensive coordinator. I still feel like he's going to like San Francisco or somewhere else if he's going to be a DC. If he can be the head coach here, obviously that's a different story. And he could be in play in places like Dallas too, where he did interviews. So I just find it hard to believe, even though it's great in theory, that a guy like Saleh will be the DC in Jacksonville, and associate head coach, whatever it is. But maybe a Patrick Graham could be, right? So that could be the next thing for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But is it the right thing? I mean, we usually don't think of offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators and marrying these things together, Austin, until like you got a head coach in play. And I think it's a little premature to say Liam Coen is going to be the guy. I think it's certainly adding up to everybody that you talk to, the people out in Tampa think, hey, this is a real deal situation now. They might be on their fourth offensive coordinator in 4 years, which is also pretty wild, considering they've had a lot of success with Baker Mayfield. So you start to kind of say, okay, what else could it look like if they do bring Cohen? And remember, Coach Mularkey said this is one of the early questions that Shad Khan would have and Trent Baalke would have or whoever else would have that's in that room. What does the staff look like, and how important is what the staff looks like to potentially the success of Liam Coen?
I mean, yeah, but the staff is everything. And, I think ideally, Brent, and I'm not sure if they had a really relationship at all, but if you could somehow get Liam Coen and then
get him off there. Yeah, thanks. So I don't know what just happened. Awesome.
Yeah. The snow just hit his connection.
It's not snowing in South Florida. Like, I don't know what. That was a weird one. I don't know what just happened there. We haven't had that. That was worse than the Gremlins. That was like when I used to watch my, TV up in the room, and it was like this big and black and white, and you get all that snowy stuff first. And that was worse than Robo Austin. That was like he did get attacked by a UFO.
Yep.
So we'll get more with him in just a bit once we straighten that out. That was an odd one. So, so Liam Coen, obviously one of the favorites are in this thing. Before we get into, listen, we go. I honestly, I don't care about the OC-DC stuff yet. I'm still more on the coach side, but I do think it's important. I think Coach Mularkey said that as well, and I do think that gets tricky, right? The more attrition you get around the NFL, the more guys take jobs. You start rating other rosters. I think it's out there today that Vrabel and the Patriots are going to get the defensive line coach from the Lions. So think about it. The Lions could lose their OC, their DC, their defensive line coach. There is even a report that Mark Brunell could go with Aaron Glenn to be the OC to New York if that's the case. They could lose a lot of the structure around Dan Campbell. Everybody's like, oh, well, Detroit's ready. They're going to keep going and keep. Well, when you lose all those coaches, are you automatically going? Dan Campbell can't do everything himself. He obviously built a nice staff. So the staff is obviously pretty important. And we know that, Austin, because, look what Doug Peterson did. I thought he brought in a guy that went and got the football and Mike Caldwell on his defensive side, and that worked out pretty well until the final 6 games of 2023. Well, then he replaces with Ryan Nielsen, and Nielsen obviously doesn't work. So you don't want to be putting Band-Aids on these things. The offensive side, I thought for the most part, he built good infrastructure around. And some people say Jim Bob Cooter was the reason why the Jags didn't do well on offense after a while because he left. I don't know if I believe that. But these hires are very important, especially for an offensive guy to get the defensive guy right.
No, for sure. Can you guys hear me now? Are we good? Or is it
you're good.
Just crazy? Weird.
You're good for now.
Okay, for now until it glitches out again. Yeah, so this is the thing, Brent, and this is something I kind of put in the text thread today as well. Because to be fair, you're going to lose Aaron Glenn. You're going to lose Ben Johnson. And if you're Dan Campbell, and I get it, man, he's one of my favorite coaches. I'd probably want him here more than anybody in terms of trying to, rebuild the team. But we're about to find out what kind of coach Dan Campbell truly is, because if you get gutted like you're getting gutted and you lose your offensive coordinator and your defensive coordinator, well, let's really see what kind of culture you have. This is why I think it's always the advantage to have an offensive-minded guy as your head coach. And I've spoken on this many times before, because when you have an offensive-minded guy, if you do get a Liam Coen, right, and you do have success, hopefully, with Trevor, he's not going anywhere, right? His offensive coordinator might go someplace, or you might lose a defensive coordinator, but, the structure is still put into place. The Lions right now, they're losing a lot of their structure. They could have a brand new offense next year. They could have a brand new defense next year. At least when you hire an offensive coordinator, an offensive-minded guy who's calling the plays, that's going to help you out in terms of keeping some kind of sustainability. Now, I guess the question comes, Brent, with what you know of the Jaguars, and I've spoken on this before a little bit, and I get Trevor Lawrence is a big component of this because you paid him to be a big component of this, but what's more important right now? Are you trying to bring in the defensive guy to turn everything around, to tear it down by the studs and build it back up a la Dan Campbell? Or are you trying to help out Trevor Lawrence and kind of have some kind of sustainability with an offense and a coordinator that's going to be calling the plays for the next 3 or 4 years for you?
Yeah, those are the questions you got to answer. Those are the things.
But I'm asking you, man. What do you think?
I think the head coach calling the plays with this offensive guru right now that way is of the utmost. Well, I shouldn't say it's not paramount. It's just that it's the way to go. It's him to be in control of it, him to be the authority on it. I think especially coming off what we just saw. And the question is, can he juggle all those things? And then listen, I think Doug had the right idea if he would have just called plays. You give the authority to the defensive guy and let him do this thing. That's it. That's I think he had the right idea. I think that method has worked. So yeah, I think we're seeing all these different ways to do it. And like you said, the defensive guy is going to kind of branch out and then have Sometimes that defensive guy will call the plays, but not as much as it seems like the offensive guy will call plays. So he's going to oversee some things. Austin, I was looking up some of these because one of the criticisms, and we'll talk about it in a bit, is the inexperience of Liam Coen. And so I was like, okay, let me find some guys. Where else is like the Zach Taylor? Has he been an offensive coordinator? Because he actually was a QB coach with McVay and got the Cincinnati job. Well, he had been an offensive coordinator for a couple of years in Cincinnati, like years prior. So he had that. Then I think I saw O'Connell, right? 2 years under McVay. Now, listen, most of us would have been like a Press Taylor-esque kind of situation where you're like, oh, Doug Peterson's calling the plays, or a Bieniemy type situation. Well, O'Connell still got the job in Minnesota. The other one, I forget what I tweeted out last night and gave an example of. But the other guy I was looking into was Dan Campbell, because I think people think of Dan Campbell like, oh, he's a defensive guy. No, he's not. He's really an offensive guy. Like, he feels like a defensive guy, but he's an offensive guy. He never was an offensive coordinator. Like at Miami, New Orleans, he was never that. He was an interim head coach for a little bit at Miami, and he was an assistant head coach, I think, because of that in New Orleans. So he actually is under that. I'm kind of like the guy up here, and then everybody else will sprinkle in. But he never was a call play, so he was always going to go get an OC is the point. He had to have that part of the operation. So I don't know if I'm answering the question, but the bottom line is I think the way to do it right now is to get the Andy Reid, the Sean McVay, the guy that's controlling that offense. That's his offense. You know what it is. It's all on him. And after that, you better go get the defensive guy as well. Did Liam Coen just take himself out of the Jags job? Is that a report?
What?
Or is that just somebody doing something in the chat?
I don't know.
Is that out there?
Wow, Schefter just tweeted it. Are you kidding me?
Really?
You guys, I mean.
Oh, my God.
All right, Brent, we'll see you later, man. Hamby, you got what did Brent say?
I'm out of there. I'm going to bed.
See you, Brent. Brent, we'll take it easy, man.
Are you kidding me?
Taking himself out of the run for just stay in Tampa on a new contract and now plays amongst the highest paid coordinators in the league. Bucs are keeping their OC. This was a possibility. There's some noise here now on Cohen, the Bucs trying to keep him, and basically what they probably just did is make him coach in waiting to Todd Bowles. They just made him coach in waiting with that, which I think is a crazy thing to do, but that's how much they wanted to keep him. And
Hamby, there's their answer why he didn't have a lot of interviews.
That's exactly. It's a great point, right? That's part of the reason why people didn't likely go after him, because they thought they probably knew how strong Tampa wanted him. And as soon as calls came, and this conversation started to brew that, hey, we want to keep this thing together. We really like him. We don't want to fire Todd Bowles. Now, there was some talk about that, like we're going to fire Todd Bowles and keep Liam Coen, but instead they're able to, whatever they did. This is a guy that makes probably $1 to $2. I think it was like $1.5 million, $2 million, somewhere like that. I saw his salary as an offensive coordinator. They probably just bumped it up heavily, and on top of that, I guarantee you somewhere in here will come out that essentially he's like the coach in waiting, which always is a goofy thing, and I'm not sure I would advise Liam Coen on that either, because you can be sitting there waiting for a long time as coach in waiting, but he obviously got a sweet deal to stay where he is. I told you his dad lives over there in Tampa, so maybe that's a little bit gets comfortable over there right now. It's not that it's far, but it's comfortable. He's real close with his dad. He lost his mom about a decade ago to Lyme disease, and so maybe that's got a little bit of a play here. He's got family, kids, and wife, and all that. So, I mean, they must have sweetened this thing pretty good in Tampa.
I mean, unless his dad loves going to Gasparilla and being a pirate, you can just come to Jacksonville, which is like 2.5, 3 hours away, and it's right next door. Like this, once again, Brent, like not a good look. No. Okay, like I understand, like Liam Coen could be next in the waiting, but who's to say maybe Tampa Bay does really good next year, right? Maybe they're going to keep their head coach the next couple of years, or maybe it's a Byron Levis situation where maybe the offense sputters and all of a sudden Liam Cohen's an afterthought, right? Like there is a little risk there. when for sure you had a sure thing in Jacksonville where you'd probably come in, get a long-term deal until the new stadium's built, and you decide to stay in Tampa as an offensive coordinator. So here we go again, everybody. Buckle up. Not the best optics.
No.
And I'm not going to say who I have in my envelope, but yikes.
This is unfreaking believable.
Dude, I'm not going to lie. I thought Cohen was going to be a shoe. I thought this was going to be an easy conversation. Brent,
Yeah, me too.
you still here?
Yeah, I don't know.
Unreal,
I mean,
man.
this is it's. I'm trying to compute it here. There's a little bit.
It's worst case scenario.
Well, it's from Austin's point, from an optic point of view, it's a bad deal, right? I don't know. There are plenty of questions about Cohen as the coach. Like, it didn't feel like a slam dunk as much as like Ben Johnson and all that. Like the Ben Johnson optics and what people wanted are worse. I think people are a little bit more mixed on the Cohen front. But the problem is, where do you go now? Like, is that Saleh? Listen, it's not Patrick Graham. I mean, I'm going to take the week off.
I mean,
if it's Patrick Graham, with all due respect to him, I'm sure he's a great guy. I'm just saying that's going to do nothing for people around here. Is it Saleh, or do they now wait for Brady? Like, you can wait for Joe Brady, and you can also. Who else is still in it? Well, Kingsbury is, but they haven't requested him. Who's the other one that they've already requested? Oh, Kellen Moore. So I mean, does Kellen Moore and Joe Brady? They didn't say, "Hey, we're doing 3 interviews. That's it." You know. So do they have as much egg on their face as it looks right now? I don't know. And maybe this is why Vegas probably knew the whole inside stuff of Tampa, that they were really making a play for him, because that's why Saleh was the odds-on favorite. You know, but this, I don't know if I look at this one as a bulky one as much as you see the Ben Johnson one, but it certainly has to be a factor in here too. Like, is the structure, what you're seeing in Jacksonville, is that part of the problem? Like, I think Liam Coen made a mistake, quite frankly. Like, I think he made you could say Ben Johnson going back last year wasn't a mistake. I think Liam Coen just made a mistake. But why did he make the mistake? Like, why did he do it? Why? The money's not enough. You can get $10 million a year here. It's life-changing money to be the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't care what they bumped him up to. He's not making that in Tampa. And again, coach in waiting is a goofy thing. Just ask Mayo in New England how that worked out, right? Go ask like the guy that was Hopkins, the assistant coach in Syracuse for like 20 years under Boeheim. He was the coach in waiting, and he never retired. Like, those things are goofy. This was a sure thing. He had a chance to run the roost here in Jacksonville and said, no thanks.
Yeah. And then listen, and now we want to throw out guys like Joe Brady. We want to throw out, I mean, I know Saleh's out there. Let's just
we've
say
been
Joe
throwing
Brady.
Joe Brady's name out. It's not like it's a new
I know,
name.
but like,
At the same time, we're grasping for straws.
But there's what I'm trying to say, though. Like, yeah, you want to throw out Joe Brady, that's fine. Keep in mind, guys, there's other teams that still need a head coach as well, including Las Vegas. So, like, who's to say right now, the way that things are set up, that we can even beat out Las Vegas, which is crazy to say, but I'm not sure if a coach would take the Jaguars league right now over Las Vegas, just from, quote-unquote, the setup. And once again, like, I, without the risk of repeating myself too much, how many more signs do you need that, hey, maybe the structure right now isn't the best? Maybe you need to make a change if you're Shad Khan. Maybe change something around, because to echo Brent's point yesterday, it's not too late. Like, you still have plenty of time. There's still coaches out there. But the last thing I want to do is, like, I swear, if you settle for a guy, like, nothing against Graham, like, I'll be honest, I don't know much about him. But what do you think the reception's going to be if we were told the entire time that the Jacksonville Jaguars have the best gig? They have the best setup. You got Trevor Lawrence. You got all this money at your disposal. You're going to get a long-term deal. Open up a new stadium. And right now, it seems like we're behind everybody. It seems like we're behind the Raiders. Seems like we're behind the Jets. We're behind everybody. And that is not a good look.
Brent, when you put out a tweet or whatever, the day that Doug got fired, or I think you did, that day or the day after, and you said, and it was the top 4, I think it was a poll, and it was Vrabel, Glenn, Ben Johnson, and Cohen. Those were the 4 names. Okay, well, they're all gone. Now, that doesn't mean that the fan base won't get or can't get excited for Joe Brady. It doesn't mean that they won't or can't get excited about Robert Saleh. However, there's going to be a lot of people who celebrated Doug's firing that might look up here in a week or two and be like, man, it might just be nice if Doug was still the head coach of this football team.
Well, listen, hey, in fairness now, we said that regardless of person out there. I think we said that, and nobody wants to listen at the time because they're so pissed at Doug. But it was one of the things that you have to consider in this whole deal. And a patient owner, a guy, Doug had done good things here in Jacksonville, right? I mean, for a year and a half, I think he lost his way this year. He couldn't push the right buttons. It wasn't good. It didn't work out. It fell apart fast in the last, really in like a 14, 15-month span. But I think we all said this, even with Ben Johnson. Doug had a Lombardi. Doug knows how to win football games. Every time we criticize Doug, you would hear us say, me say, whatever, Doug's a good football coach. I mean, every time I prefaced something with Doug's a good football coach. And what we saw in Tennessee this year when the Jags actually beat them twice is, did they make a mistake letting Vrabel go? For Callahan, they got a worse football coach, it looks like, at the time in. And then Vrabel was the most coveted guy of the cycle, really even more than Ben Johnson, it felt like. Like he was the guy. Now, just that New England, obviously, he was destined to go there. But I think there were 5 jobs that would have been like Vrabel first in all this. So it's a good point, Hamby, but I think it's a point that if you listen to our show, you've heard many times over the last couple of months. Like, it's the scary part of doing this for change, just for change's sake. Listen, there's some smoke around the Jags that many people thought that Balky was going to move on this and Doug was going to stay. Like, there's a lot of thought that Doug thought that 2 days before, maybe even the morning of. Like, the press conference in Indy still thought he had a really good chance to stay. And Shad surprised people with Balky staying and Doug going. Now, we were all thinking, hey, reset. But he obviously kept Balky. A lot of people thought, even at that time, that there was a really good chance to keep Doug. So, to your point, that's a good point. The bottom line is that ship has sailed. Now, how do you make it better? And, Austin, I think you bring up something that I still have not ruled out. That I don't think it's a slam. I said it to somebody again yesterday. I don't think it's a slam dunk that Balky's still a part of this thing at the end of the process. Now, I said that before the Cohen thing. Okay, like that was yesterday. I still think that's the case because the bottom line is the Jags might look bad right now, and Shad Khan's going to have to put his ego at the door a little bit here where he's going to look bad because he already looked bad in a news conference, and he's looked bad enough all the time standing by Balky. But is it the time to make the move now and say, okay, this... whether I'm not saying it's today in response to Cohen, but are the deck chairs are already moving around anyway? Like, is he already aware of this after the last 2 weeks? He's just not publicly saying it anyhow. And that's why I thought Cohen coming in, or whoever comes in, if it's coach-centric, still will have a say in how this looks like, specifically if they add more infrastructure to the front office once you figure it out. I just don't think it's going to look like simply... It was going to look like Liam Coen, Trent Baalke, right? I think there's a whole lot more to go here, potentially in Jacksonville, just from simple infrastructure. That's why we talk about Baselli so much yesterday on the show and over the last couple of weeks, because we think that is a possibility and makes a lot of sense. Again, I'll always warn, what makes sense in Jacksonville isn't always what's going to happen. But yeah, Austin, I think there's a lot on the table here still, but it does not hide the fact that, let's be honest, there were 4 guys, essentially, that made the most sense if you want to go offense and that young guy, that up-and-comer, relate to your quarterback, take care of your quarterback. And that was Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen, Joe Brady, Kellen Moore, like in this cycle. And I exclude Todd Monken for this just because he's a little bit older. I like Todd Monken. I'd be happy with Todd Monken, quite frankly. They could probably land in a really good way if they just would hire Todd Monken and bring him in. And then they could really rescue themselves. And he might be the best of the lot. He's a head coach in his past. He's got more experience. He's got the best resume of the last 4 years if you look at his offenses at Georgia and Baltimore compared to these other guys. He's got the most experience by far. But now 2 of those guys are off the table. Two of those guys are off the table. So now it's Joe Brady, Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore is going to Dallas. Everybody feels that way. It sounds like. I mean, that's about as crystal clear as Vrabel was going to New England right now. So that leaves you Joe Brady. And or Todd Monken or Robert Saleh. I mean, right? I mean, basically you're down to what I think is two guys. You were going after that younger coach, and then you're probably coming back to a Saleh as the floor of this search, which I think you can do worse, but it ain't going to feel good.
Yeah, so I want to go back to your first point of, do you make a change now? And, I try to pride myself of having at least an answer or at least an opinion about stuff that can make some sense. I really don't, I'm at a loss for words what you do now, Brent, because if you choose to make a change and you say, okay, maybe Trent Baalke's not working, let's go in another direction. Well, that's almost as bad as saying, hey, Doug Peterson, you're not going to call the plays. Press Taylor's going to call the plays. How about you call the plays the last couple games of the season, maybe have more success? That's how bad the optics are going to look. But I guess I don't know what's worse, Brent. Is it worse to maybe keep a guy that's hampering your head coaching search? Or is it worse to say, hey, I made a giant mistake and now I have to cut him loose? I don't know which one's going to look worse. Like I said when this whole press conference came out, I wish whatever the decision was that he would have stuck by it and not been so on the fence about, everything's on the table. You can't do that. A good businessman, a good owner, you can't do that. I understand, you think that's what head coaches want to hear. And I get what he was trying to do. But now we're starting to see, if you don't have that vision, if you don't have a clear structure plan in place, this is what happens. Brent, let me ask you this. Did Liam Coen meet again with the Jaguars, or did he not even go to the second interview?
No, that was
so
today.
What is that saying then as well? Because let's put ourselves in Liam Coen's shoes real quick. Maybe you knew all along and going back to Tampa Bay. But why wouldn't you at least meet with the Jaguars on a second interview just to maybe have that as a little bit of a bargaining chip to maybe try to get some more money out of Tampa and be like, well, hey, Jacksonville's very interested. The fact that Liam Coen didn't even want to take the second Jaguars interview, that also speaks volumes. Because he could have did that and at least, all right, let's see what the process is like, right? This could be me one day. Let me see what it's all about. And he didn't even do that. So how bad was the first meeting? Well, he doesn't even want to take a second meeting, even as a bargaining chip with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Now, listen, there are a lot of things that go on behind the scenes, and I think it's crystal clear. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes between agents and everybody else, and you just relay information. And these are conversations in person like this, from a Zoom call to an in-person, don't carry all the weight of the world. I think Mike Mularkey told us a little bit about that, but I also think the Ben Johnson move tells us a lot about that. I mean, he took 4 virtual interviews. And then he just went to Chicago without even meeting those guys in person. He didn't gather information either. What an odd cycle this is. What are we doing? What are people doing? And by the way, again, I'll go back to Mularkey. Mularkey said it doesn't matter. Most situations, he pulled out of the Raiders job twice, and I think he said one other one. And Denver. And he said, you still go interview because a great experience is to interview. Liam Coen did not just go through this thing. Liam Coen had one interview. Yeah. It was a virtual interview with the Jags. It was 9:00 Tuesday night, and apparently did well. But is that enough? Why wouldn't you go back to say that? Now, he might have been offered the job. There's a lot of smoke that he was about to be offered the job. They still couldn't do that technically because of the Rooney Rule. They had to meet that over the next couple of days, especially with Thursday's interview with Patrick Graham. But why wouldn't you do that? Did he just not want to be offered the job? And then would that look bad? He didn't want to say no? I don't know. But why wouldn't you take the job in person just for the experience of it? Even if you were thinking this way, forget about even leverage. It looks like he probably got a pretty sweet deal to stay. But I really don't get this. I've talked to a lot of people around Liam Coen the last couple of days, and I was kind of getting excited about it just because of what I was hearing. And there, you can get excited about it. But
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, folks back home who know him talking about this guy's a whiz kid. Like they knew that he was going to be destined for this for a long time. Like even though it was UMass and Brown and Rhode Island and places like that, like this is not a surprise. I mean, the story of Shane Waldron saying, "Hey, you need to go get the guy in Maine that I've worked with because he's really good." Sean McVay, and McVay did it, and now look where he's landed a few years later. Like there's a lot to like. That's what Tampa likes. Tampa sees that same thing. I mean, the Jags might have been onto something here, even though they were the only one to interview him. They might have been onto something. But from Liam Coen's case, I don't really like this for him. One, I think he missed a huge opportunity to really have control of a building and do things his way. And two, he's not getting paid $10 million a year. I can guarantee you that, to be the OC. And who knows where that goes in Tampa? It's a risky business, I think, with Baker Mayfield, who's also shown you the bad. He's been very good, but he also has shown you the bad. And I mean, there's a lot going through my mind right now. What does this say about Trevor Lawrence that now Ben Johnson picks Caleb Williams and Liam Coen takes Baker Mayfield? I mean, what's the domino there? So, I mean, Trevor Lawrence is a guy that people want to work with, I would think, around this league. Or do they not?
No, I think Trevor Lawrence is honestly secondary in this conversation, Brent. I really do. Listen, you can sit here and say it's a questionable decision, and we can sit here and say, like, why would Liam Coen do that? Nothing's for sure in Tampa Bay. We can sit here and say all these things, but guess what, Brent? He knows all this. It's not like we're breaking any news here. You don't think Liam Cohen's thought about, all right, what are the pros and cons of me going back to Tampa as opposed to going to Jacksonville? Like, dude's a smart individual. He thought this thing through. So it tells you all you need to know. And once again, like, I think Trevor's secondary here, but it tells you all you need to know if this guy was willing to go back to be an offensive coordinator and not have a for sure thing that's going to have the same amount of success now with another year of Mike Evans, who has been banged up a little bit. Chris Godwin coming after a serious injury. Like, we don't know how Tampa's going to be. And their defense, last year was nothing to write home about. So he would rather risk it there than get a sure thing in Jacksonville. He thought through all this, Brent. Okay? So that, once again, tells you all you need to know about how he feels about Jacksonville and the situation.
Do you think
honestly, my only hope now, Brent, my only hope that I'm seriously praying is that when they ask Liam Coen why he chose to stay in Tampa Bay, he just said, it's a better fit for me and my family. I hope that's what it is. Please, Liam, please spare us. Please spare us. Well, don't say anything about the GM. Don't say anything about ownership. Don't say anything about the structure. Just please say it made more sense to stay with my family in Tampa.
Yeah, I don't think you. I mean, you might get that, but obviously it's not. Maybe we don't need that though, Austin. We don't want that. Like, you got to come. Somebody's got to come out and just say it the way it is, right? Like, that's the problem with this. It just continues to be like, eggshelled, even from the folks. Like, you don't hear personnel people say it, but behind the scenes you do. Like, I mean, I talked to 5 different people yesterday, and I'm like, how can you guys all say this and the owner doesn't hear it? Like, how can we all know it and everybody will say the same thing about Trent Baalke, yet the owner doesn't know it? Or say, he talks to more people than we all do. You got to pick up the phone. I picked up the phone and called 3 people yesterday and had conversations at length. But it took me 2 minutes into the conversation to be like, what are we missing? Like, this ain't hard. But they bamboozled the owner. Baalke's been able to do that. But even beyond that, I just say he's got to be talking to people and hear the same thing. Does he just not believe them? And I get he's not on Twitter, and I get he's not listening to the show, which he probably should a little bit more. But, like, all those things. He lives in a different world. But I don't know. That's really what's baffled me over this last couple weeks. Once they retain Baalke. And guys, I don't aim the vitriol at Baalke as much. I actually think you should let this dude off the hook and just let him go. Because I almost feel for the amount of vitriol this guy gets. Like, I think it's over the top at times. But the bottom line, Shad's put him in a position to get this kind of, get the arrows being thrown, Well,
yeah, because it takes the attention off a shot.
It's unbelievable to me. But over the last couple of weeks, I just can't wrap my arms around. Yeah, we hear it all, we see it all, all this stuff we know. Okay, now let's go do a little work. What are we missing? Do a little work on it. It's like, we're not missing much. What's he missing? What's keeping him? What's preventing this? Shad's been in business a long time, man. He basically said after 4 years and with 2 games to go in the season, the nicest guy in the NFL, the nicest guy on the planet. He basically fired Gus Bradley before he even got on the team bus in Houston and said, this is all your fault. We're keeping everybody else. Like, he did that. Like, so he's got some of that in him if he needs to have some of that in him. Like, he fired Malarkey and Gene Smith. Gene Smith, one of the guys that had been, in this building for a long time. And you heard the way Malarkey talked about him, right? That was the way he was perceived. He's like, 1 year, get out of here, right? Like, he can do that. He's a business-centric guy, and you don't get to be a billionaire just by smiling at everybody. You can be tough when you need to be tough. Why can't he be tough with Trent Ball? Like, this is so weird to me. The more and more we look at it, this is not Bill Polian he's trying to hang on to here.
But no, I think this is, I don't know, man. Trying to wrap my head around everything. And you just mentioned it. Maybe that's one of the biggest detriments to this team right now, is that Shad Khan's a very good businessman, right? Because I think when you come into this whole thing, you didn't know a lot about football, but you saw it as a chance to invest into something. And guess what? You're making money hand over fist. It's the NFL. It's a giant machine that's always going to generate revenue. Wait till the whole Forbes list comes out again. Yeah, the Jaguars maybe struggle, but let's see how much money they went up again in terms of net worth. So maybe that's the issue. Maybe from a business sense, you see your Shad Khan, it's like, yeah, doing pretty good. We're big internationally. We're big in the UK. We're big in all this stuff. But maybe you don't understand in terms of the wins and losses and what it truly means. Maybe you don't understand in terms of bad optics because you look through glasses that are green, that you're making money, and that's great. But at what cost? And, without the risk of repeating myself from yesterday, but eventually someone's got to come in there, Brent, and say, hey, we're making money and that's great. But you know what makes a lot more money? Being a title contender, going to a Super Bowl. That's when you make your money. That's when you put yourself on the map. Not these mediocre seasons, not these fail to achieve results seasons. Someone's got to come tell them that.
What do you think is a worse look? The fact that Liam dropped out today before the interview, or if he would have gone through with the interview and we would have heard, sources say it went great, whatever, and then he drops out Thursday or Friday or later on this week? Which one's worse? I mean, I think they're both disastrous.
Yeah, they're both disastrous, Hamby. I think I'm going to choose the former, and I think this is worse, though, because he didn't even want to see a second interview. He didn't even want to talk to him again, right? Like, it'd be one thing if it's like, oh, okay, I'm not going to go here, but let me just, it's good business. Like, Hamby, you've applied for jobs. Brent, you've been kind of locked down now for a while with what you're doing, but we've all applied for jobs. The more jobs you apply for, the better, because then you get a feel of what everyone's got to offer. You can use it as a bargaining chip. He didn't even do that, especially of a guy who's going to be a first-year head coach pretty soon. And he didn't even do that, Hamby. So to me, I'm going with not taking a second interview and just saying, no, thanks, I'm all good. It's far worse than him actually going to take a second interview and then walking away.
Quite frankly, I'm kind of pissed just because I got like 15 minutes of video from Kentucky and Tampa yesterday. I
spent an hour on watching it for entertainment sake this morning.
Liam Coen special today.
Yeah, like ready to go, starting to craft stuff in my mind, have a new article ready to go. Like, I mean,
this was the Brent Austen Liam Coen spectacular.
Yeah,
and it got canceled within 20 minutes.
You do get clowns. This guy must be a Tampa guy, right? This Corey Hall podcast, whoever that is. The guy is happy where he is. How are you going to call him out for that? Your show is whack as bleep. I'm like, dude,
Cool.
He had to sit there and say that we can say he made a mistake by not taking a head coaching job in the NFL. Just to let you know, you can make a mistake by not being able to run a building. Listen, I was all for Liam Coen, but I can sit here and tell you that he could make a mistake by not taking this job. if they don't do well in Tampa next year, which, by the way, Baker Mayfield has a career there, hasn't always done well. They are an aging team. Todd Bowles, we'll see. They've done a very good job the last 2 years. What if they don't? What if they don't? You run the risk. And not everybody was clamoring for him. I'm not saying he's never going to have a job in the NFL, but this was an opportunity to work with a quarterback. Maybe it all works out well with him. But to sit here and say that, this is such an easy decision, he's happy where he is. No, there's not logic in that. You just passed up a $10 million a year job in the NFL, where, by the way, outside of maybe the structure part, most people consider a very good job. Right. So, and it's just across state if you want to stay in the state of Florida. That's all the things Tampa has in a lot of different ways. So, yeah, dumbass. You can question it. All right. We're going to take a break. We're 45 minutes in. Go check out the Corey Hall podcast. It's not a whack-ass bleep. We'll be back on the Brent Austen Show. Oh, yeah!
What's happening?
He has no idea what's going on. Yes.
What was that?
I had no idea.
I get a thumbs up? What?
Yeah!
So I get a thumbs up and get fireworks? Hold on.
He is clueless of what's going on right now. Well, hey, it's see that? You didn't think your phone did good things. It's nice.
So
you're not on the
I
iPhone
give
8
thumbs up
anymore.
One more time.
What is Okay.
By the way, thumbs up for everyone. Yeah,
down?
do that one. What's that one? Do anything?
Nothing.
This guy deserves it.
Yeah. We'll have to create a whole bunch of hand signals coming up. That was tremendous.
What does the middle finger do?
Damn Liam Cohen. What the hell? I always hated the LaSalle anyway. Go East Providence Townies.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic. From bumper to tailgate, I'm making this truck mine. It's everything that I wanted and more. From the field to the gym to weekend adventures. This truck's built for my journey. Bozard Built. Customized for your lifestyle, built to exceed your expectations. Check out the inventory and available options at bozardbuilt.com. Unleash your dream ride. Customized, covered, and Bozard approved.
When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness, and most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC, we are professional grade. If you need a quality play this football season at your home, call That One Painter First Coast. Locally owned and operated, experienced employees, no builder-grade materials. And there's more, and for that, we throw it to Noah Schlicksup. That One Painter First Coast can apparently help your kicking game, too.
Well, after my failure on skinny sticks last year on Creekside game day, I've spent a lot of time out here at Creekside practicing my kicks. There's only one issue. How is that even possible? The good news is I know exactly who can help. That one painter can handle all your painting needs, from field goal posts to cabinets to stucco. They got you covered. Though they may not be able to help with my kicking, they can certainly help with the posts.
Call That One Painter First Coast today for all your painting needs at 904-495-1373.
2024 provided plenty of memorable moments for the Jacksonville Armada on the pitch, including another conference championship game appearance for Tommy Krasanovich's under-23 men's team. Debuting this year for the first time, the girls in blue, as the Armada fielded a women's under-23 side in the WPSL and made its presence known with some highlight moments.
Potential goal of the season!
Then attention turned to the future, with MLS Next teams representing the Armada badge in 3 age divisions this fall, including an under-19 squad ranking among the best in the state. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet and Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the net for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet and all things footy. That's every Thursday at 2 p.m.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Oh, there's the box. What's in the box? We put the envelopes in the box yesterday.
Just go ahead and forget it.
And by the way, I don't think I'm going to have to give away anything. we might want to reopen the envelope game.
Yeah, round 2.
Round 2. Hey, the Jags might have to reopen their search. This is like when I didn't get a job in Providence. Like, this is what it reminds me of. I didn't get the weekend gig in Providence, right? Back home years ago after covering Liam Coen, ironically, in state championship games. And the bosses were like, you're a finalist. You know, I was like 22, looked like I was 10. And they hired somebody. And then a week later, that dude quit, right? A week later, like he quit. It was amazing. So I go back in the boss's office and I'm like, well, and he said I was a finalist, so it's either me or whoever the other guy, right? Or gal or whatever. Yeah, we're opening up the search again. I was like, screw you. So that's what I feel like. Well, it's time to open up the search again. Sorry, guys, thanks for the interview process. I was just telling Hamby this in commercial break. The Jags, see what went under the radar about the Ben Johnson thing, in my opinion, is the Jags had already, in my estimation, screwed this up somehow because of the way they went about it in just for the Rooney Rule. Now, listen, I think the Jags are not trying to make a mockery out of the Rooney Rule like the Patriots did, and quite frankly, like the Chicago Bears did to be able to land Ben Johnson. Now, they interviewed 400 people in Chicago, but it looked like they had to bring Eddie George in like out of the blue, right? To interview him over the weekend to line things up because they had to have another in-person interview with a minority candidate.
Yeah.
But when that happened, and then Ben Johnson takes the job without an interview, I'm like, oh, wow, that's why they had to do that or did that so they could move fast. Well, even look at the way this was set up according to if the schedule is correct. The Jags, even if they got Cohen in today, they could not technically offer him the job. Now, who knows what goes on behind closed doors? And so I get that. But they could not technically give him the job or hire him or move fast. Now, they weren't competing with anybody. Oh, wait, maybe they were. Tampa.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have Patrick Graham in yet. So they already had Saleh in person. That's one. To fit the Rooney Rule, you need another. That's tomorrow with Patrick Graham. So now after tomorrow, they can make the offers and hire people. But it was weird. Even I was looking at this and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to put too much into it. But I was looking at it even yesterday and I said, this is clunky because Rick Stroud out of Tampa is saying, hey, it looks like it's going to be him. And then everybody's like, hey, it's going to be Liam Coen. Like, you can't say that until you do the other interview, at least with Patrick Graham. Like, you have no idea until Thursday if he's going to take it, what Tampa's going to do in the interim. And obviously, so it worked in reverse order for the Jags. Things bubbled. It got hot. It wasn't like he was picking between the Raiders, the Jags, and Tampa. No, it was Tampa or the Jags. And so because they're a little screwy with the way they've done this, and they're keeping the Patrick Graham interview until Thursday after the fact. If they did the Patrick Graham interview Monday or Tuesday, they could have already moved. You see what I'm saying? So, like, I don't know.
I see what you're saying.
I don't know how much that played a role. I'm just saying it felt clunky to me. I thought it was an under-the-radar story over the weekend to begin with, even on the Ben Johnson stuff, because they moved to make it happen without even a second interview in place. And guess what? Who's most likely leading the search in Jacksonville and screwing this up? Trent Baalke. Right? So, like, he's actually, that would be right now my biggest criticism of Baalke, and I'm not sure I have all the details of that or if it really would have mattered at the end of the day, but the way things are shaking it out, it certainly feels like it's mattering. Like, you have to move. The longer the Jags wait, the worse things get.
I mean,
here we are.
I don't know, man. And I apologize. I think I have a fire alarm that's going off. The battery's dead, so I got to like fix that. If you guys can hear it.
Can't hear it.
Say what?
Fireworks did it. That's why. Hey, when you have fireworks in your hotel room, that will do it.
Yeah. Who knew that you put 2 thumbs up, you get fireworks, man? It's unreal. But that's crazy how that works. But no, Brent, like I agree with you. I think that for whatever reason, and maybe this is something that someone told Shad Khan, someone told Trent Baalke, a lot of people believed that this was the coveted job, right? And I think when you believe that, when you start buying into that narrative, maybe you get a little too comfortable, right? Maybe it's like, they're all going to come to us. We don't got to do our due diligence. We don't got to do the work. It'll all come to us. Like, maybe that's what they thought. Because like I'm literally trying to justify all the moves that have taken part, in the past month in terms of this coaching search, starting from the press conference after the season. And I'm trying to justify all of it. And I'm trying to think of like, what is the reason behind it? And I'll be honest, I'm having a really hard time trying to justify any of these decisions anymore. It makes zero sense. So yes, Brent, they should have got ahead of this a little more. Yes, you should have interviewed the minority coaches sooner. So then you have this is what I don't understand. And I've spoken on this a couple days ago. Like, this is the NFL. This is cutthroat. This is competitive. And you guys keep setting yourself behind the 8 ball and saying, it's all, there has to be a plan and there has to be action. You just can't be complacent. You just can't think because you got Trevor Lawrence. You just can't think because you got a new stadium coming in. Just because you have all the money in the world that entitles you to getting the coach that you want. That is not how it works. And now we're finding that out.
Yeah, it's wow, man. Here's the thing I was thinking of too. The Jags have done a lot of things wrong. We know what this organization we've just been killing it lately, and they've earned a lot of it. I would say this, Austin, this is a weird place to be in because for me, you can have the structure problem, fine. You can have the Baalke issue, fine. Let's put that aside. The bottom line is we had Malarkey on the show. Most everybody around the league feels like this is a good job still. Trevor, no state income tax, patient owner, team that actually you think could win in 25. I mean, if you look at all the teams, I think Chicago has a real chance to win in 25. I think if you look at the way a team is built, if you just want to win in 2025, you could go win in 2025 with this football team. Like with a couple pieces, you're going to make some moves, right? Draft and other things. But this is close to winning because of the disappointment of last year, I would think. So there's a lot of reasons to like the job, and I don't think we're making that up. And the Jags have usually been a pretty attractive job, even though they've been so bad. Like every time they reset it, 2020, right? For Urban, it was an attractive job. You got the number 1 pick, you got all this money, everything else. 2022 for Doug, pretty attractive job. Urban just screwed everything up. You still got the quarterback, go fix them, all these pieces, draft picks, et cetera, et cetera. The thing that bothers me, all these different cycles, the Jags haven't missed. Like usually when they want to get a guy, they usually are able to get the guy. They were able, like, I don't remember the Gus Bradley search, but I think they wanted to go in that kind of direction and pair younger guys. They got those guys. I think the Coughlin thing was outside the box. They didn't have a lot of competition, and we've explored that before, and maybe that should be taken into account more, that they didn't go after the McDaniels or the Kyle Shanahans or whatever else, but they went for this totally different structure where they really didn't have a lot of competition because nobody else was doing that at the time. They really didn't have a ton of competition for Urban Meyer, if we're being honest. So they didn't look bad in the process once they got him, even though it might have looked bad if they got caught at the altar because they'd put so much into it. Then Doug Peterson, which was weird because they could have had him easy. And like in the first 2 weeks, and they would go on this long process. We were like, what are you doing, man? You might get scooped up. Well, it turned out that not everybody interviewed Doug. So they were able to get Doug, who we thought was one of their top candidates from the jump. But again, not a lot of competition. And now, when they get into a dance, for the first time really in Shad Khan's cycle of hiring coaches, they get into a dance where there was competition. Ben Johnson, they don't even get into the room a second time. Now, when there's competition, which really doesn't make a lot of sense still to me, the Bucs thing, like, I get it. I just had somebody even knows Cohen is like, what the? Coach in waiting, see how that worked out for Mayo? Like, that's even some like.
Apparently, it's not even coach in waiting, and this is a Tampa Bay Times and Bucs beat writer.
Yeah, Rick Stroud.
Yeah, said there is no coach in waiting stipulation in his new contract.
Yeah, so he got more money. Let me tell you, folks, if he got $4 million, that's still about $6 million less a year than you would have got here in an opportunity.
Brent,
so
it's not all about the money, man. Like, I
get. Listen, but I'm not going there. Right there.
Going back to the money, but it's like, listen, if it was about the money, we'd have the first guy here. It's not about the money.
Well, I'm not sure. I think Chicago actually outbid even probably what the Jags were willing to pay in the money deal. They gave him like $13 million. It was a crazy contract for Ben Johnson.
How many years was it?
I don't know.
How many years?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the deal. I'm just saying the rumors of it. Like, that's high. That's on the high end. That's like crazy kind of money. But which, by the way, these guys are getting a lot more money now. I mean, the money is really high even for the coaches. My point, at least just to finish this thought, and we can get back to that part of why he chose Tampa, but the Jags haven't really missed getting the guy at least they want. But this was the first time they feel like they've had some legit competition for the guys that they wanted as well. And they're fumbling the football on it, is my point. And like, they haven't been made to look like Indianapolis, when Josh McDaniels turned down the job and they had to pivot and go with Frank Reich. But the Jags are kind of facing a situation now that feels a bit similar to that. The Jets, when Belichick kind of does a 180 and goes to New England. Like, this is starting to feel a little bit like those kind of deals where the Jags can't get the guy they want, even though the job, in a lot of categories, many would say is pretty coveted.
Yeah, maybe in a lot of categories it is, but the biggest one, it's not. And obviously you're seeing the results of that. So, yeah, I mean, like, at the end of the day now, like, we can sit here and say how bad it is because, yes, it is bad. But, like, what is the next option now, Joe Brady? Because was Joe Brady asked to have a second interview or not? No,
but you can't. So, I mean, I always thought the door was open for that because it's definitely could have been part of the equation, depending on what happened with Cohen anyway. But you can't do it until next week. And if they win, you can't do it for a couple weeks. Holy cow.
Yeah, which and then do you miss like okay, I mean, and maybe it's going to be Salah, but like this is the risk of it. Do you wait for Brady all this time, maybe fall behind the eight ball a little more, and then Brady says, you know what, I got a good thing in Buffalo, let me go and stay here another year. Like at this point now, it's almost like, all right, do you maybe take a sure thing with Robert Saleh, even though, and say what you want about it? In terms of Trevor Lawrence, I don't think it does anything for Trevor. And I think Trevor's kind of stated like what he wants, and Robert Saleh's not that guy. So now you're kind of going against your quarterback's word. So do you kind of take a sure thing knowing that you could probably get him? Or do you wait, pivot, and hope that Joe Brady is interested in becoming a Jacksonville Jaguar?
Yeah. I don't know. I hadn't thought about that this morning.
Well, no, I mean, I don't think anybody did.
Hey, Ian, we already addressed the battery and the smoke alarm, bro. We're in the middle of the show. We'll get the alarm later. We're doing fireworks on the show instead.
And putting out
can we go to break? And listen, I'm not saying like everyone's saying Robert Saleh's not the answer. Hey, what other options are there right now, everybody? What else do you want to do?
I don't know where the Jags go right now. I haven't.
No, honestly, I'll ask the chat. Hey, chat, what do you want to do? Do you want to wait for Brady and hope that he comes back, or that he takes his gig and wait a couple weeks? What's the plan?
Well, don't you think? Here's the thing. It's crystal clear. It's crystal clear the Jags wanted offense, right? Mm-hmm. That they were going. Well, first of all, I don't know if it's crystal. They never made an offer to any of these guys. It's just assumed that Ben Johnson was high in the mix, and then obviously Liam Coen looked like next in line. So I do think we have to be a little bit careful to just. Now, they can say whatever the hell they want. That's what I believe. They're never going to say this. That's what I believe. I think that's what you believe. I think that's what you believe. So we believe it. So they were going offense. And so I think if you don't get your offensive guy, there's automatic disappointment. I think a lot of us wanted offense. I think a lot of us kind of wanted that younger offensive guy, with all due respect to Todd Monken, who I think could be great. He really could be the sleeper of this whole cycle. He could be great. But I was a 38-year-old, 35-year-old, 39-year-old. Let's go get that guy. Let's try it out. It comes with risk, no doubt about it, but let's go try it out. I was in on that. I also think let's just talk logic. And again, I caution, logic doesn't always win the day in Jacksonville. But make it a T-shirt, okay? I think when you're talking about Trevor Lawrence, Austin, the reason why offense makes sense is not only because it worked in the league before, but also because Trevor Lawrence is your biggest investment. So let's just talk from a business standpoint. He's $275 million investment. Who do you need to take care of the most in the organization? That guy. That's the guy. So it makes logical sense why you would go offense. One, because Schott had never done it. So it was a different thing and other things hadn't worked. That is one reason. The other one is just simply Trevor Lawrence to get the offensive guy. And, I mean, here's the thing that scares the hell out of all of us. And it's nothing to do with Saleh. I don't know Patrick Graham enough. That doesn't do anything for me. I would have said the same thing for Vrabel. If Vrabel was here and brought down Josh McDaniels, would I be excited about Josh McDaniels? I don't know. Probably. He's done it before. He's been a good OC. Okay, he can do it. If you get Saleh, who's the OC? Nick, we're screwing up the one hire. We're gonna probably you're gonna ask to do two of them. We gotta hit home runs on two of them. We can't even get the one right in Jacksonville.
Before we get to Saleh, don't we have to answer the question: is Cohen and not taking the job and passing it up an individual because he's unique, or across the board? Because if it's across the board, the next question is: would Saleh even take the job, or is he going to take the 49ers defensive coordinator job? Could he possibly do that? If this is this big of a deal, and it's across the board, not unique to Cohen, then we're not a lock to even get Saleh. He could go take a DC job in San Francisco.
See, that's why I'm worried about Brady, and it's a good point, Hamby. I thought Saleh doesn't really have a choice, right? But again, he does, and I think they came out and said that they would make him the highest paid DC, You have a couple good years in San Fran, then you're back in the head coaching circle. Like, I agree. Like, is this just a Liam Coen thing, or is this kind of the feeling all around the league right now? Is that maybe Jacksonville's not so coveted like everyone thought it was going to be?
Is that why Aaron Glenn didn't even, there wasn't a second interview?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm very
firm in that. That was
I think Ben Johnson
clear.
and Aaron Glenn talked, and it's like, nah, we're all good.
Well, and not only that. Let's just be honest here. Like the Raiders interviewed when they thought they had Johnson. They interviewed his guy, like his GM, right? And the guy from Washington, and then the Washington GM just interviewed with the Jets the same day that Glenn interviewed with the Jets a second time. So they're pairing them up. So that makes them. There's also. It's not only the fact that they're structured down here, don't even take the second interview. It's the fact that I can bring my own guy into those two jobs and have some synergy with guys that I know. Which also makes some sense. You could still move. Now, if you had moved Bulky, you could have done that same scenario here in Jacksonville, right? You could have done that. So, yeah, I mean, listen, we knew the whole thing 2 weeks ago. That's why we're also pissed off about Bulky staying. And Shad made it so much harder on him, on the organization, on everybody else, even on the candidates, because he brought another thing to think about here in Jacksonville. Even with the good, you brought something bad. You didn't have to. You gave ticket renewal people a chance to get out because they're mad at you because of Bulky. You gave coaching candidates a chance to get out because they don't know if it will work with Bulky and they won't trust Bulky. This was what we knew 2 weeks ago, that this was in play. And in the past, at least the last couple of times, it hasn't hurt them as bad. One, because we wondered if any GM would work with Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
And then the second time around, well, it just didn't. Doug Peterson didn't have as many offers as we thought he would have, quite frankly. And he seems like the guy that wasn't stuck on that and could make it work. And quite frankly, he did make it work a little bit with Bulky for a bit. We got to at least acknowledge that. But these young guys are being told, or these new guys that are getting opportunities, there's no doubt they are being told, hey, do not go to a place if you don't have alignment. And by the way, it's good advice. It's great advice. And Shad's blocking these candidates, at least at the moment, from having alignment. And these candidates, what I would say, are reluctant to tell him that to his face because they're not even taking second interviews. That's where you would then make that plea. It's not in the first virtual interview. You would then say, hey, listen, I'm interested in this thing, but only if it looks like this. I doubt you're doing that in the first interview. From everything I can gather from folks, you don't do that in that virtual one. It's a more, how do you do, philosophies, all this other stuff. Now, could back channels tell you that story? Maybe. But again, Shad set the table, and right now no one's sitting down for dinner.
Yeah.
I don't know where they go.
This sounds insane.
Let's do this. We're way late because we went like 50 minutes.
Can I change my
at the
smoke
start.
detector, please? Thank you.
Yeah, you change your smoke detector because it's really pissing Ian off.
That's pissing me off, man.
I can't even hear it. Like, I haven't heard it
it's
once.
annoying.
Okay.
Yeah, it's bad.
There's a lot of things annoying this morning here on this show. Brent Austen Show, Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back and keep talking about this. I'll be honest with you, I think this job was a good one for Liam Coen. I don't fully get the Coen stuff, but to each their own. He might have made the right move. I think he didn't. And we can have different opinions on that. Driven to Inspire, by the way, is part of the Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network. Liv Tassley did a bunch of stories this fall on folks behind the scenes for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Get their stories today at 2 o'clock in a 1-hour show on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network. You find it at actionnewsjax.com, the Action News Jax app, and Action News Jax now on your smart TV.
If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit. When you hear that, you think Bono's Pit Barbecue, a staple in Northeast Florida now for 75 years. A place that feels like home with friendly service, a meeting place for friends, family, or business occasions. On the menu, the corn nuggets are a favorite in our house, but there's something for everyone. Sandwiches, platters, salads, sides, desserts, and family feasts. You see Bono's all over the place in Northeast Florida. You know, there are almost 20 locations in the Jacksonville area now, so stop on by, sit down, and dine in with Bono's. You can also take it to go. There are drive-thrus in many of the locations, and they have delivery options too. Just download the Bono's app to make things easy. I signed up for the loyalty program, and you can too, to get special offers. If Jacksonville is home, few things feel more Jacksonville than Bono's Pit Barbecue. Celebrate 75 years and many more to come. Bono's Pit Barbecue. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
For the game day hustle and every day in between. Juggling my show, Jags Social, to going under the Friday night lights and a social life, it's a daily tournament. But this ride, MVP status. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus isn't just my car, it's my personal locker room, office on the go, and VIP lounge on wheels. Let's talk tech. My profile remembers everything from customizing my dash display to setting the ambient lighting and my signature scent. And wireless charging, essential for live tweeting scores. Whether I'm packing for a beach day with friends or heading to the gym, there's space for every passion. After dominating all day, this becomes my recovery zone. The massage feature is like having a personal PT on call. Life's a non-stop game, but with this ride, I'm always on my A game. The 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Drive.
You trust CGC to make your water great, and now you can trust CGC with your plumbing needs as well. Fast, convenient scheduling, licensed and insured. A quick call away at 904-552-1242.
You never know when you're going to have an issue with a shower, toilet, or maybe it's a sink that sometimes is easy to fix. All right, let's be honest. I'm not fixing anything. I'm totally staging this because when I have a plumbing problem, I call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing.
Trained professionals, transparent pricing, customer satisfaction. Small problem or even a bigger issue. Right now, save 10% off a new Rinnai tankless water heater. The experts with 25 years of experience at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing can do it all. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. For a limited time, CGC is waiving the trip charge on all related plumbing calls. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
Here on Spring Sports Media Day on Action Sports Jack.
It's an opportunity, an education beyond the classroom and the sports arena. Life skills, testing skills, social skills. It's called High School 912, a program focused on maximizing the growth of students in academics, sports, and life. And here's your chance to get involved. If you're a local business, or if you just want to make a donation to help support programs like ACT and SAT boot camps, career days, Leadership Academy, Financial Literacy Academy, and so much more.
Another Nice High School Panther, Jack Cole.
High School 912 supports and hosts high school sporting events and several media days throughout the year. For more information on how you can get involved, visit jackshighschool912.com.
It's the place we party in football season with Jaguars All Access. Welcome to Spring Sports Brewery, everybody. Say hello to our guest tonight. That is Trevor Lawrence. You can bring your party or event to Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield any day and any time. Rehearsal dinners, corporate events, birthdays. Here at Strings, you can enjoy the inside area and the outside area. Good for any weather, good for any occasion. Watch the games, play the games, shoot some hoops. Beer? Yeah, they have that. Plenty of choices. And sure, this is a brewery, but Strings is also a restaurant, and the food is fantastic. A full menu made from scratch meals. And if you need String Sports Brewery to help with a party at your place, they cater too. Family, beer, food, sports. Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
That is Ben Johnson. As he was introduced in Chicago, he will actually be introduced probably in a short time, maybe right now, up there in Chicago. Well, I guess they're on Central Time, right? So I think it's 11 o'clock Central Time that he's being introduced. And Ben Johnson, the new coach of Chicago Bears. Liam Coen says, I don't want to be a coach. I just like being an offensive coordinator here in Tampa instead of taking the Jags job. That's what it looks like and feels like here in Jacksonville. That just came down in the last hour, if you didn't know that. So,
man, like, listen, like we poke fun, but the dude's gonna bet on himself, man. Like, and I honestly, I don't blame him for it, right? Like, I understand maybe he's not the most coveted name. I understand he's kind of the new kid on the block and everything, but you know what? If you want to bet on yourself and say, I can replicate what I did last year and my name will be even bigger and my demand will be even more, then more power to you, man. That's the kind of coach I wish the Jaguars would get. You know, a guy that wants to buy on himself, that wants to bet on himself and say, I know what I'm capable of.
Yeah, and by the way, when you're 39 years old, you can do that. And also, if you get, it's easier to do that with, let's just say it's now $3 or $4 million as a salary in the bank, right? Like now you've got, it's not like you have no job or that job. So there's definitely some in between that gives you power to do that, familiarity to do that. And it might work out for him, okay? And we might come back to this. I'm going to tell you right now, I feel like he missed here, though. I think there was a lot still in place that if he had come in for the interview, he could have set in motion here to make it the way he wanted to. But he chose to go the other route, and maybe he is a big winner still and all this. Plenty of time to win, and that could be in Tampa. That could be in another place. There obviously are 6, 7, 8 jobs open each and every year, right? So, hey, and does Cliff Kingsbury come into play? Does Joe Brady? Obviously, a lot of folks in the national scene now talking about Joe Brady if they want to expand the search. The bottom line is, do the Jags now, and you've said this, and we've said this, and as we pivot it forward, goodbye, Liam Coen. It was fun talking to you about you for a couple of days. But as we pivot this around, should the Jags wait, kind of collect themselves again, or should they move on a guy like Saleh by the end of the week? Like, what would you do? Seriously, we got to put ourselves in their position. I think it's worth noting again, and I've said this multiple times, I really feel like if Shad hasn't been convinced of Bulky being removed is important, I don't know how he doesn't look at this search right now and say, Bulky, what the hell are you doing? Because if that's the guy leading the search, he's got to be like, what are you doing? And there's been plenty of evidence of what are you doing anyway with Trent Baalke, like the whole plan of 2024 that blew up in their face as well, from Eric Armstead to anybody really that they brought in spending the owner's money, but that didn't get his attention. Does this one get his attention? But the bottom line is I'm not going to sit here and predict they're making a move. I don't think when you're in the middle of a process, you're all of a sudden going to be like, all right, I'm firing that guy. But his tone may change inside meetings, like inside interviews, whatever else he's telling these guys, how they want the structure to be. I wonder if this kind of stuff will make Shad, if he was hesitant to make a potential move with Baalke, I wonder if this puts it over the top, but I don't think it happens during the process. So let's be in the room and let's be in the process and let's be in Jags crisis management right now. And you're like, all right, now what? We've got Patrick Graham coming in tomorrow. We've got Robert Saleh coming in Friday. 2 candidates. We obviously invited them back for a reason that we're interested in them. But if we wanted to go offense, we're going to have to wait. Kellen Moore, Joe Brady, we could bring them back in next week. We could go try Cliff Kingsbury, who we haven't done. We could go try Mike McCarthy. Do those guys come into play if we want to go on the offensive side of the football? We could go bring in Todd Monken again, by the way. So there are still a lot of options out here because you interviewed 10 guys, and there are a couple like McCarthy and Kingsbury that you haven't interviewed. Where are you leaning, Austin, if you're advising the Jags?
It's a great question. Yeah, I'm Brent. I'm taking my time here, and I'm opening back this search up. So I'm gonna try to bring in Kingsbury. I'm gonna bring in Brady, Mike McCarthy. Sure, even though how I feel about Mike McCarthy, made it very clear how I feel about Mike McCarthy, but at this point, you gotta get as many people as possible because I'm not sure if half those guys even want to come here, right? Like once again, I never fell under this umbrella, but a lot of people thought this was the most coveted job. And maybe Shad Khan believes so too. Maybe Trent Baalke believes so too. And now we're starting to see that is not the case. And I think we're in full panic mode now in that building. I think they want Liam Coen. I think Liam Coen was all but a formality that he was going to come to Jacksonville. Yeah. I think it was a shoo-in. And then he flips the rug underneath him, and now it's like, uh-oh, what do we do here? So, yeah, I mean, I know Robert Saleh is on the table, but to echo what Hamby was said earlier on, like, who's to even say he comes here? Maybe he goes to San Fran, takes a DC job again. I'm trying to interview as many people as possible. I'm going with the Bears at this point. Bring 10 people in. Yeah, guess what? Gonna make you look bad. Gonna give you some more bad optics. But you know what, Brent? I don't even care about optics at this point. Like, the Jaguars are who they are. Okay, and there's no changing it. So accept it for what it is. You know, like, yeah, you trying to be the Bears one day. You're trying to be these organizations that maybe they struggle in terms of wins and losses, but seems like they kind of know what they're doing. We want to be those teams. I understand, but let's finally call a spade and see what it is here. We just aren't. Okay, we're just there's the teams up. There's the Super Bowl contenders. There's the respected organizations. There's the teams that are like trying to make a rise, and then below that, 30 feet under, is the Jacksonville Jaguars. So with that being said, I'm going to interview as many people as possible. Don't care what it looks like anymore, because obviously this organization doesn't really care about optics. And I'm going to try to find the best guy that has the interview and hire him. And hopefully it's going to be an offensive guy as well.
Yeah, because you get deeper into this thing, by the way, as these guys start building staffs. Now, you got who knows where the connections land. But like you said, you could hire Saleh on Friday or you could hire him next week. But you wonder, okay, who the OC is and everything else. So I think you're right, Austin. I would, again, we have done plenty to try to advise the Jaguars for years. Right?
Yeah.
I like what you just said there. I think what you might be in panic mode. I think outside the building where you might be in panic mode. You might even be inside the building, but you can't show that, right? What you got to do is take a step back. Like, you got to be like, okay, what's the way to, like, I'm seriously trying to figure this out from a crisis management. Like, how do you recover from it? We have seen organizations recover in many different ways. So now this is your time to recover. Maybe you fall backward into something just by taking a step back here. And I think Shad needs to obviously look in the mirror and all the things with assess the whole Baalke thing for the 15th time, hopefully, and figure something out. But I also believe now you're just like, okay, listen, we're not going to, what you just said, I'm not worried about what everybody says. The bottom line is we're screwed on what everybody says. Like, people aren't renewing tickets, probably. We're a little bit of a joke right now. We're not going to worry about that. What we got to do, the only way to fix that is to get the right guy, right? Is to get the right leader. And no way you rush into that just to offset the bad PR right now. So that's really what you got to do. I mean, the Jags have to go into a little bit of crisis management here and figure things out of how they're going to get that guy and how they can still get potentially the best coach of the cycle. Now, we think that might have even been Vrabel in New York, but the bottom line is we don't know how Ben Johnson's going to do. And the other thing is no other jobs have been filled. So you're not losing a lot of people off your board. Now, Aaron Glenn looks like he's headed to New York, but you're still wrestling with the Raiders, who apparently, like, their best landing spot is Pete Carroll right now. So, which is interesting. The Jets, the Saints are going to be involved in the Joe Brady sweepstakes, it sounds like, from his LSU days and everything else. And who else do we have? Is there another one out there? Oh, Dallas. Dallas seems like they're doing their own thing. So you're actually kind of fortunate that, one, there aren't 10 jobs open this cycle, and two, everybody's kind of doing their own little dance. You know, I mean, the Raiders would be so far outside the box if it was Carroll. The Saints don't have as good a job as anybody on the board, and the Cowboys do their own thing anyway. So, like that, you can take advantage of right now. That still a lot of people are on the table to potentially get.
Yeah, man. But here's the thing, Brent. Like, at this point, I'm not even looking at the Raiders, or I'm not looking at the Like, I don't think you're even in competition with those teams. Like, once again, I think they're ahead of us right now. I think we're just in competition with ourselves.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you're not in competition with the guy. The only guy that you're in competition with, at least reportedly, would be Kellen Moore. Is my point. Like from a candidate standpoint.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean?
No, I hear you. But once again, like, is Kellen Moore going to pick Dallas or Jacksonville? Is Kellen Moore, would he pick Las Vegas or I think Kellen Moore would pick both those teams over Jacksonville. And I don't know, man. I'm trying to come up with a synopsis of like what this past like 4 or 5 years is. And like it's unjust loyalty, I feel like. Whether it was Doug Peterson trying to be loyal to Press Taylor when you didn't have to be and it didn't give you the best chance to win, or whether now it's Shad Khan being super loyal to Trent Baalke even though you really don't have to be. It's like I don't get it, Brent. I really don't. And yeah, I think just going forward now, like you just got to focus on yourselves. Like I'm not worried about the Cowboys. I'm not even watching the Raiders. I don't care about the Jet. Like all I'm concerned about now is like, can this team get out of its own way and try to hire the best candidate that's still available?
Unjust loyalty. I like that. That is true, by the way. What you said about Doug, what you said about Shad. What's interesting about that is that was a positive thing as this job is being looked at over the years. That loyalty, patience, you always hear that in the cycle, right? So that was actually an advantage for the Jags. That was actually a positive attribute for the Jags. And Shad has actually turned that into a negative because of the Trent Baalke situation and his loyalty to that. You know what I mean? So, like, that was one of the reasons you come here. One of the reasons I still think you're selling this job to a candidate is, like, you are basically getting a 4-year window at a minimum to go into the new stadium, which is really pretty good. Like, that's good. I'll tell you this, the Bucs aren't guaranteeing Liam Coen he's going to be the offensive coordinator for 4 years. That's not how the league works, is my point. Right? You don't guarantee that kind of stuff. This job feels very much like that given the circumstances of the stadium, the away games, the London stuff, the limited capacity, everything else. On top of the fact that Shad's been pretty loyal anyway. Usually you get 3 or 4 years. So you're going to open the stadium. There's a lot to like about it in that. But I think what you just said, that unjust loyalty that usually is a benefit for Shad Khan to sell to a potential candidate, is actually hurting him right now, that word loyalty, because of all this Baalke stuff.
Yeah, I think it's unjust loyalty and it's blinded arrogance. And once again, this is not just referring to one person, but the collective. Because we saw it all year last year with Doug Peterson, you know? Yeah, it doesn't matter who's calling the plays. I know better than you, all this stuff. And now, like, I don't get what it is with this organization. Someone said in the chats that the Jaguars finally broke Austin. I'm to that point. I'm not going to lie. I'm getting to that point because you watch how every other NFL team does things, right? And the Jaguars, for whatever reason, under their leadership, feel that they need to do things a certain way, their own way. And I'm for that. Sometimes you got to think outside the box. Sometimes when they go right, you go left. I get all that. That's how Super Bowl champions are made, okay? Sure. And that's how, in business, that's how you can set yourself apart from everybody else. But it's not working. And I don't need analytics. I don't need anything. All I have to point at is the record of under the ownership. That's all you need. That's the ultimate litmus test right there. Doesn't need to be, well, this happened. Well, this happened. Well, no, we were going through. Nope. All you got to see is the record, right? So at what point do you look at the record under your watch and say, you know what? We're doing things a certain way and maybe it's not working. And yeah, maybe I'm a little stubborn and maybe I feel like my way is the best, but maybe, just maybe, I should fall in line and watch what other teams are doing. At what point do you have that conversation? At what point, when you got your asses kicked by the Detroit Lions, do you go, you know what? Maybe I should make some sort of change just to show, you know what? This isn't how we do things in Jacksonville. At what point do you have Trent Baalke and go, you know what? Maybe a lot of people don't get along with Trent Baalke. Maybe it's time to cut him loose. I understand he's a friend. I confide in him. Okay. But at what point is it like, all right, I see the record. I see how things have done, and I go, you know what? It's time to cut him loose. But you don't. Because for whatever reason, you think the way that you're doing it is the proper way. And it doesn't matter if you think it or not, because the record's going to always say differently. And I'm broken.
He doesn't even know he's doing it, which is the greatest. We have to go through all the...
No. I know I'm doing it.
Oh, okay. Good work. You knew how to put an exclamation point on that one. I love it.
Yeah.
We will have some levity on this show in the next, before we get you out of here in the next 25 minutes and go through all the different things you can do on your phone. We got to do it today. It just feels appropriate just to pick us up a little bit. Listen, you've said a lot of good things over the last couple of days. And I think that was good. I think also, though, if you listen to our show, Austin has said a lot of times the Jags don't know how to lose. Right? That's the thing. The Jags don't. They just did it again. 4-15. 4-15. They're 0-2 this week.
Seriously.
They're 0-2 this week, and we haven't even kicked off a football.
We taking L's in the offseason.
But
what would feel like a win?
And now I don't know where the win's coming.
Yeah,
I honestly don't.
It's not just those two. It's just now.
There's a win here eventually. I just can't get to it in my mind right now. Okay, I don't know what that is. I mean, this is a weird one. I did not see this coming. Again, I knew there were plenty of reports out there anyway, and knew that they were going to make an effort to keep. But a lot of guys make an effort to keep you, right? I just thought everything that I had, even logically, and then heard and other things, this looked like it was heading down the road. So that's why this is a bit surprising.
It was a layup.
Oh yeah, the Bucs fans are like, "Well, why he's happy here?" Shut up. Who gives a damn if he's happy here? It's a head coaching opportunity, you idiots. Why should we be surprised? Why should we be surprised? Because it's a head coaching job in the NFL. That's why you should be surprised. I mean, come on. We can all complain about the Jag stuff, all this other stuff. I don't think anybody saw this coming today. I mean, Rick Stroud, who covers the team, does a great job in the Bucs, was like, he's gone. He said that yesterday afternoon. They were already looking for their fourth offensive coordinator in 4 years. The Bucs, who had made that kind of pitch to him anyway, said, we want you, didn't think they were keeping him.
Yeah.
Okay? So, let's not say this was, we knew this was going to happen. Shut up!
Do you think when Cohen called the GM and let him know, the GM was like, "Oh wait, are you serious?" I'm
probably
sure the GM had the next offensive coordinator on line 2, and he's like, "Oh, hang on, I got to call you back real quick."
No.
Interview somebody else.
He called Todd Bowles. He was like, "Hey Todd, I'm coming back." Bowles was like, "Am I fired?" That's how surprised they were in Tampa. I mean, come on. So anyway. Yeah, it feels like another big loss. There's nothing getting around it. Everything you just said about this mess is right on, but they got to find a way to fix it. The bottom line is, it doesn't matter where you've been. Austin, you've played. You're in the UFC. You know this. It doesn't matter what just went wrong. You've got to now fix this. This is a football game. You've got to fix it on the next play. You've got to all the things we can continue to complain.
Let us make fun of you and let us get our 2 cents worth, but that's our job. Your job is to just play next play and go, okay, what do we do now? Let me ask you guys this. What do you think, your own personal opinions, but also in totality of the fan base, what's more disappointing? How the whole Ben Johnson thing played out or how Liam Coen played out?
Liam, 100%. 100%. Because there was so much competition for Ben Johnson. We were the one team. that was like, yeah, it was a shoe. If the thought beforehand was, if the Jags want him, it's a done deal. It's on the Jags side because there was nothing to say that Liam wouldn't want to take the job. With Ben Johnson, it was, if Ben Johnson wants to come, then it's a done deal because the Jags definitely want him. To just be passed up like this is 100% worse. There was no other competition.
Well, here's the deal. I don't mind them losing them to Chicago because Chicago, listen, we said it. Chicago's a good gig. Like, it's a good job on a lot of fronts, right? So, I mean, that's obvious. What I would have felt worse about losing Ben Johnson to the Raiders. The Raiders, to me, makes not a lot of sense. Again, you can have Tom Brady in the room. I don't give a damn. That's not why I take the job. Like, that's just, but again, if that's the reason you take the job, I don't want you as my coach. Like, quite frankly.
I mean,
so
Tom Brady, Trent Baalke, which one do you want in the room more? I don't know.
Well, I get it, but I still, that, yes, but everybody, Trent Baalke, right? I mean, is the equation right now. I'm just saying I would have felt worse, I guess, if the Raiders didn't make sense to me for Ben Johnson. Gotcha. When you're looking at the different jobs. The Patriots made sense. The Jags made sense. The Chicago Bears made sense. The Raiders did not make sense. Like, that would have even been like, whoa. And so, yeah, I'm with you guys, I think. I think the Liam Coen, it's the freshest, but it's also the more surprising of the two. Like, no doubt. Because we know why. I mean, he's not going to pick a new head coaching job. He didn't just pick the Saints. He didn't just pick the Dallas Cowboys. He picked staying as the OC. And yeah, betting on himself, all those reasons. The other people have done it. Hat tip, good luck, best of luck.
Yeah.
But man, there's Trevor Lawrence here still. It's the AFC South here still. Like, there's a lot of still good reasons to do it. So I think that's why. Yeah, no, listen, I'm not giving you but you're asking me which one's more surprising. Yeah. I still take the formula of all that and say, I'm stunned. I'm really stunned today that this is the news we get on Liam Coen. All right, let's do this. We got to take a break before we got to let you go. Yeah, let's take a break. We got to catch up a little bit, and then we'll be with Austin for another 10, 15 minutes or so, and then he's out in the noon hour, and we keep talking about what's next for the Jacksonville Jaguars because we've got to help them. The bottom line is we need to help them. This is a mess in Jacksonville. Jets, Saints, Cowboys, Raiders still on the board as well as the Jags. I want to get back into now where do they pivot, and I think Austin said don't worry about the egg on your face. Don't take your time now. Find it. The worst move the Jags could make by the end of the week, which is, I think the one people think they're going to make, is hire Saleh on Friday. And that's got nothing to do with Robert Saleh. I like Robert Saleh. I just think that would be rushing into it. I think they should take their time. Do you? We'll get to some of the chat as well on the way back here on the Brent Austen Show on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. Burgers or breakfast, you can get it all at Whataburger. Try something new on the menu or an all-time favorite like the Whataburger Patty Melt.
And now you can have breakfast here at Whataburger 12 hours a day, 11 p.m. until 11 a.m. Menu items like the bacon taquito, sausage taquito, honey butter chicken biscuit. Whether you work the late night shift, just want a snack early in the morning to get your day started, or a little pick-me-up late in the morning, 12 hours a day, breakfast served, 11 p.m. until 11 a.m.
A dozen locations in Jacksonville. You can order pickup or delivery and download the Whataburger app. New rewards members get free Whataburger items when placing their first online order. Just download the app. And for us coffee drinkers, Whataburger has all new hot coffee and iced coffee too. Satisfy that coffee craving at Whataburger 24/7, and it comes in a variety of flavors. Burgers, breakfast, coffee, and so much more. Whataburger, just like you like it.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers! And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants.
We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter.
Right now, save $1,000 or more when you bundle a Connecticut Premier Softener with a Connecticut K5 drinking water system. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579. Baker Sports is local sports. Uniforms from Pop Warner and Little League to travel ball, high school, and college. They make you look good. They help you play good. Baker Sports has been helping families make memories that will last a lifetime with their Baker's Buckets. We've got a lot of these filled with baseballs and softballs in the garage. I've been throwing batting practice to Ty and Kaylee for years and also sit on the Baker's Bucket, catching Kaylee while she practices or pitching. Baker Sports is homegrown, and a lot of employees that used to play on local ball fields now work for Baker Sports, now helping you look good, play good, and make memories of your own. Visit bakersport.com to see what Baker Sports can do for you. Custom apparel, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, embroidery, screen printing, and more. Baker Sports is local sports from Jacksonville to anywhere in the Southeast. Bakersport.com. When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness, and most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC. We are professional grade.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
The envelope game we might reopen again. I just want to reiterate that. Take 2 on the envelope game. There you see the box. If you don't know about the envelope game, you're late to the party a little bit, but we put our names in last Friday and over the weekend of who we thought would be the coach. My guess is I'm giving nothing away. There might be a Saleh in there, but if you had Ben Johnson, Liam Coen, Aaron Glenn, did anybody say Joe Brady? Did anybody say Saleh? Those are kind of, I would be surprised if anybody said anything other than that. But maybe they did.
Do we have an update on the Vegas odds now for the Jaguars' next coach? Have they put those out yet?
I thought somebody in the chat might have done that, and I want to get to the chat a little bit here too. Oh my gosh, the chat is hot, huh?
That's insane.
They say, it's fine. How great it is. It's Saleh's the guy. He got a bad card in New York, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, listen, they can spin the Saleh stuff. The bottom line, they can't spin on Saleh. And listen, I'm a fan of Saleh, but I don't think it's the right move right now. He's 20-36. I mean, you might as well just pull Doug Peterson off the golf course and say, sorry, man, we messed up.
Shoot.
I mean, at this stage.
Knowing this organization, they're going to try to make a move for Saleh ASAP, and he's going to turn him down and go to San Fran. And if that happens, I don't know, Brent.
Oh, my gosh.
We may have to. I mean, listen. Yesterday, there's a lot of threats being made if Liam Coen somehow would end up going back to Tampa.
I know.
But if Robert Saleh just goes, you know what? Forget head coaching. Let me just get back in my, get my chops back being a defensive coordinator in San Francisco. Yikes.
Bro, apparently, according to Bet365, which is the only one I see that has updated odds since the Cohen news, Saleh's plus 110.
Wow.
Even odds.
Anybody else?
Who's second?
Monken.
I honestly, I'm going to talk more about Monken, but I actually think like that could be the place to go for the Jags. Like I really think it could solve a lot of different things right now. And I do. I think that could be a good one. If Saleh says no to the job, though, I'm not leaving the show because the numbers are just too high right now. but maybe, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm jumping in that mailbox and not coming out. It's life-sized. So Roger says, listen, guys, I'm a stand-up comic from Jacksonville. Moved to New York City for that. But I'll come back for you to save the franchise. If we make enough noise, maybe I can get an interview. Okay. I don't know if that's real, but we need some comedy in our lives right now. I can tell you that. Totally agree with what y'all were saying. Shot is out of touch. Think all of that would sell candidates as a new stadium and no income tax. No regard to Trent. Padawan Price says. I used to laugh when people said we were doomed forever, but now I'm starting to think we are doomed. There's no way out of this, says Joe. I feel like I'm going to need to turn into Delilah here in a minute. I've asked before and often wondered, was the stadium built an ancient burial ground or something to get this curse? Well, I always thought it was the Titans, but maybe it's more than that because they stink too. That's from Trick. Jags made player offers, but some have not signed up for 2025. I'm not really sure what that means. They have not made player offers yet. Coach Prov getting an extension. He's not leaving. We don't want Dion, I don't think, here, but maybe we do. The Jags had broken Austin finally. They did. That was about 45 minutes ago.
They did. They really did.
But then he lit up fireworks and he's back. Yeah. Upper management has to set the tone, the standard, the leadership. I think of Ozzie Newsome when I think of those attributes. Yeah, that's why Baltimore did that. They still feel, I think, Ozzie Newsome. You got to get that part right. And again, I've been saying this now, Austin, and we said a lot of things you said today, and we continue to kind of preach on and talk about. And the one thing I've said all along here, and this is where people kind of, I probably didn't do a good job of articulating this on Twitter. That's always dangerous, about the Baselli thing yesterday. But it's bigger than just replacing a name or getting a coach or getting Bulky out of there. Like, it's even bigger than that, believe it or not. Like, it really is. There are more things to this. There's messaging. There's leadership. There's relationships. There's transparency. There's so much more. If you think it's just a coach coming in, Liam Coen, if you think it's just Trent Baalke being moved, that's not enough. That's not enough. That's what we're trying to say. That's what we hope Shot hears. There's more to it. Now, can those be the dominoes that help it go? They could have been, or it would be. Like, we really believe moving Trent right now is the way to go, was the way to go 2 weeks ago, to be able to then set those other things in motion. But, I mean, I told somebody even close to Cohen, I said, listen, this isn't just like, you got to worry about a lot of other stuff here in Jacksonville. They were asking me a little bit about it. Like, this is a small town. They love the Jags. Like, what happens on the podium, we found out that mattered this year. Like, people turned on Doug not because of the record, but because of how he said things. Like, that really happened. Like, overnight, they turned on Doug. And at one time this season, it felt like they disliked Doug more than Trent Baalke. And think about the way people talk about Trent Baalke right now.
100%.
So if you don't think it's deeper than X's and O's and what you do with Trevor Lawrence and how you say things and what you say and the messaging, transparency, how you talk to fans, all those things, you're mistaken. Like, you can't just change all that with a hire of a coach. And listen, we felt it even yesterday. Like, I felt a little bit yesterday, even just somewhat defending Baselli trying to defend the organization, which, again, I wasn't defending his remarks specifically for yesterday or 2 weeks ago on Bulky. I said somebody needs to be in that position in the organization to defend it in times like these. Who's the voice? Who's the voice? Like, that's where I was going with it. I didn't articulate that very well.
But it's just, it's so hard to defend now, Brent. You know?
Oh, you can't defend anything right now. And I'm not trying to.
Yeah.
We're hammering the organization, all right? We all are. Like, there's no way other to do it. When you get to the, listen, I'd love to defend the organization. But I said this going all the way back to the pandemic, said it back going to Urban Meyer, said it going back to the Trent Baalke stuff on various occasions. It's a hard, you can't defend it. I'd love to sit here and defend Shad. I can't see where he's coming from. I can't. But we did this 2 weeks ago. On the Monday, we retained Baalke. Like, go back and listen to the show. We can't defend it. I'd love to be able to find a way. I try to find a way around the other side sometimes. Not groupthink, not what everybody's saying. It ain't easy to do.
That's good, unbiased journalism. The problem is like, we're out of options. We're out of ways to look at things. And it's right in front of us. I mean, I guess I'm to the point now, Brent. Like, can we just scrap the whole mail game, and can we instead get like an endorsement from like an exorcist, and then we can have like the Brent and Austin first annual like sage burning at the stadium, and then we can get like an exorcist too to maybe exorcise some of those demons, like the first annual Brent and Austin cleansing or something like that, because that's the only answer I have left. I have no other like listen, I take pride in trying to come up with solutions, trying to find ways around. Like, I'm out of answers. I'm now to exorcists and sage burning. That's what the Jaguars have done to me now.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's I don't know if we should do that. We can go down to St. Augustine, and there's probably like part of the ghost tour. You can get that or something. Like, maybe, like, we can probably find it. I don't think we have to go to Savannah.
I'm
then
sure
we just
can
go to
like on Craigslist, like, Exorcist by Emily or something. I'm sure there's something around Jacksonville we can do.
You have to get going, and you're not going to be part of this part of the conversation, but because we're going to flip it a little bit to Trevor Lawrence as we get back on track. And are we going to get like this by the end of this weekend, a trade request from Trevor Lawrence? Is that going to top this all? I mean, what's he thinking? What's he thinking? He wants an offensive guy, of course, for good reason. If you were in his camp, you'd want an offensive guy. If you're in the organization, you want an offensive guy because he's a $275 million investment. If you invested in that, if your house costs a lot of money, you're going to invest in your home and take care of it. Well, the Jags are trying to do that with their quarterback. Well, right now, people are like, Trev, you're a good dude, man. We think you're a good player, but nah. Ben Johnson? Nope. Take Caleb Williams. Liam Coen? I'll take Baker Mayfield. How's he feeling today?
Yeah. I mean, I think Trevor, I think everybody, right? Because when we spoke on this, like, do players really care who the GM is?
No,
Not
they don't.
really. Just because, like, the GM's writing the checks, right? The GM maybe drafted you. Like how we feel about the GM, the players don't share that same, vein. But when you're getting dragged through the media, when you're getting called out and saying how bad things are, well, the players see that, right? So maybe from the players' side, it's not necessarily a Trent Baalke problem, but it's definitely an organizational problem. I'm not going to say Trevor Lawrence is going to request a trade or anything. That would be the worst case scenario. But once again, I thought Liam Coen was a layup. So what do I know in terms of worst case scenarios anymore? But what I do think is, like, the longer that this drags out and the longer that this looks bad, man, and then that guy that's going to come in here and turn things around, he better make sure that all these players are on the same page. Because right now, whether they like Trent Baalke or not, players are seeing this. Obviously, players are they don't care about the GM, Brent, but they do care about the next head coach. And I was a part of that experience, right? When Coach Mularkey was that was all we're looking for. We'll be a defensive-minded guy. We'll be an offensive-minded guy. Where's he coming from? What's the philosophy? Is he a player's coach? Is he more like players are asking these questions? And the more the Jacksonville Jaguars swing and miss, and we want to poke fun, and we want to call it the organization, keep in mind of what those conversations are like in that locker room right now with some of those players as well. Because they probably aren't happy and wondering what the hell is going on as well.
Absolutely. And Trevor has a pulse on that. You got to get out of here, but can you do this?
Yeah. Does this one work? Does this work at all? Oh,
yeah,
dang.
lasers.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
All right.
Thumbs
How about thumbs up, fireworks? How about peace sign? I don't know how fast you can go on the iPhone. I'm not sure. Like,
What is going on?
let's see what else we got. Can you do a single thumbs down?
Oh, single thumbs down.
Nothing happened.
Nothing. What about a middle finger, Brent? Anything?
No, but how about just leave us with this as you head to a workout down there? Just give us the heart signal. Like that, or, like whatever that is.
Everybody, I understand that we're going through it right now, but we're in this together.
A lot of love here. A lot of love. There you go. Nice job, Austen.
All right, we'll see ya.
Have a good one. That's Austen Lane. He'll be back with us tomorrow. He's going to go work out down there in South Florida. If you're just catching in now, Jaguars are... I do think this is important to say. I try to get you got to be a little bit journalistic about it, right? And the journalism side of this is this. They had not offered Liam Coen the job, okay? He was coming in for a second interview and then said, no, thank you. Well, we also believe that Aaron Glenn, if he was part of the mix, likely said no thank you because he's just taken Jets and maybe the Saints. He might not even get to the Saints. It looks like the Jets may hire him because actually the snow might impact the Saints being able to get to him, quite frankly. And Ben Johnson already went to Chicago. So we got here with Ben. We had 10 interviews to start. And then Ben Johnson doesn't even take a second interview with anybody, which was stunning to me too. But Chicago goes and gets him. Liam Coen then becomes the favorite. Patrick Graham interviews tomorrow, scheduled. Robert Saleh on Friday. That's still on the table that we know. But Coen breaks right in the middle of our show right this morning, like 20 minutes in, and he ain't coming. He says, I'm staying with Tampa. So he pulls the rug on the Jags, turns them down, doesn't even take the interview. It's the only interview he had was the virtual interview. He didn't have an interview with anybody else that we know of. So, but I do think it's important to note the Jags hadn't got to the point where they were going to offer him. We feel like they were going to get to the point where they were going to offer him. I think it's pretty obvious that Tampa thought that too, right? And the league was starting to think that way, and the Vegas odds were starting to think that way, and everything else. So it made sense because it looks like they're going after an offensive guy. So that's how we got here today, and that's where we're at right now. Now, it feels awful in Jacksonville. It should. The Trent Baalke thing continues to be hanging over Jacksonville. I don't know if Austin could have done a cloud thing, but that would be the cloud if it's Trent Baalke. Shad just missed big time 2 weeks ago. He had a chance to reset the organization, and he missed. He whiffed. If you're going to keep one guy, I think more people would have said, in fact, they did on a poll question that we did with a lot of votes on it, then keep Peterson. But he picks Baalke, and he blames Peterson. And what has transpired since then is how we got here. What are the Jags going to do next? Are they going to hire Patrick Graham or Robert Saleh? Yeah, I don't think so. Are they going to now go bring back Joe Brady? If he loses this week, they could do in person. If he doesn't lose Sunday and he goes to the Super Bowl, I think they could do a virtual interview with him because they've already done one. I think that's the way it works. I might not have that right, actually. Maybe they can bring him in the middle of the week. I have to go back and look that up. Kingsbury, if he loses, they can go say, hey, let's interview him, even though it was a first one. They didn't do that the first time around. McCarthy, they haven't done him. So
please don't.
By the way, Kellen Moore, they could bring him in if he loses with Philly. Not many people think he is going to, but I guess you could do a virtual one with him too, if I've got that right. Then there's one more we're missing. Oh, Todd Monken. Monken's now available. Like, you can bring Monken in. They lost.
That should be an interview in the next couple of days.
So you can, you extend your search.
Get an offensive guy back on there.
Is what we're talking about. Like, you extend the search now, and you're like, okay, we got these guys, but we're going to We thought we had these three. We don't have these three. We got to open this up. Where were we? I actually think Monken makes a lot of sense. Like, I think right now, in my quick thoughts, while this is all going on, we're hosting a show, and I haven't really thought too much about it beyond what's happening right now. I really feel like I don't mind Joe Brady. Joe Brady can still fill the box that we were talking about Joe Brady even before, like with Ben Johnson and with Liam Coen. Mm-hmm. Like, he was in that kind of conversation. We didn't have Kellen Moore, if we're being honest, in their conversation. We had Monken in a total different conversation, but we had those three guys. It was Cohen, Brady, and Ben Johnson. And Ben Johnson was on the top of the list. Let's not try to kid ourselves. And maybe even Liam Coen was next, but a lot of people like Brady. And I remember we did a show last week. It was like, well, listen, Brady, you can argue fits more what the Jags are trying to do and what he's been able to do, and look what he's done since taking over that job. He's a young guy. He's also got experience at the collegiate level. He's also now got enough experience, we think, at the NFL level. So it ain't a bad idea to bring Joe Brady in. I actually heard did well in the interview on that Saturday. He was the last one to go. So were they trying to get it done? I think so. I think the Jags were trying to get it done. That's why the Liam Coen stuff made sense. But now you're not trying to get it done. Now there's no rush. So I would bring in Monken. I would bring back Brady. If you think you have a chance at Kellen Moore, fine. And people are saying, Monken's old. Monken's not 68. He's 58. Monken, I'd be fine with Brady at this point, but I think Monken actually might be the best hire of this cycle, given the way this thing worked. If I had to pick somebody that would do the best right now, given the way this Jag situation is, I actually feel like Monken. And again, the only thing that Monken has against him is he is 58. He's not 38. Mm-hmm. I said this all along. If he was 38 years old, he'd be the hottest name in the cycle.
No doubt.
So I would, if I were the Jags, bring in Brady and Monken.
Yeah.
As next week or this weekend or whatever that goes, and see where that lands you. Again, the Brady thing is tricky because if the Bills do beat the Chiefs, then you could be waiting and waiting and waiting. But let's be honest. Do we really feel like Monken's getting a job this cycle? No. Do we feel like Saleh's getting a job this cycle? No. Do we feel like Patrick Graham's getting a job this cycle? No. Do we feel like now Mike McCarthy's getting a job this cycle? I would say probably not. You can actually still wait for Joe Brady. You can announce, just go make an announcement somewhere that Baselli's involved with the organization, or you name him VVP or special assistant. Do that.
It'll set us off for about a week.
Well, no, but it will set up. What it does is it acknowledges you are restructuring your front office based on what this all has done.
Right.
So at least even if you're not going to fire Trent Baalke at the moment and make that move, because that's kind of a clunky thing to do, I would admit that. You're kind of pot committed at the moment to this process with Baalke involved. But if you put somebody in place, and again, we keep using Baselli's name, and I know he's not the most popular guy over the last 48 hours in Jacksonville, but if you just take the idea that you can put your dad in there if you want, I don't care. You restructure the front office in the next week or so, or a couple of days, so it says, hey, we're listening, we're seeing this. They might have done it anyway.
Right.
But now you do that to at least say, okay, we're recalculating, we're recalibrating here, right? So you do those things to tell the league that, the candidates that, the fans that.
It's that, and it's even more elementary than that. Just the fact that if we put anybody in there, that would be a piece of good news if we would have to wait for Brady for another 2 weeks. Because with each passing candidate, we get more discouraged. Ben Johnson goes, that's an L for us. Liam Coen drops out, that's an L. Nobody wants to wait 2-3 more weeks for us to get any pieces of good news. It's only going to get worse until a hire is made, whether that's the EVP or the new head coach. It's only going to get worse.
I know that, but again, I'm trying to think from a crisis management, big business. And I'm not involved in that kind of stuff, but I'm just trying to think that way.
Right. And you can't release a statement because that would tip your hand that was even bigger of a loss, because you can't say, hey, we really, Cohen, da-da-da-da-da. So you got to make a move instead of a statement.
Well, the one thing that the Jags are that have in their favor is they never got a second interview with either of those guys. Even if they were the top two guys on the board, they never had a chance to even offer them the job because they never got the second interview. So they can stand by that part. But what I'm saying is they can't worry about the timing and everything else. They can't worry about getting blasted right now by all of us and the fans. They can't worry about the ticket office renewal people just not getting a call back from anybody right now. They can't worry about that stuff. They've got to go get this one right. And if it takes 2-3 weeks because Joe Brady's the right pick, it takes 2-3 weeks. So, but what they can do is they can control a little bit of the narrative, start turning the narrative with a structural play in their front office sooner than later if it's going to play out for 2 or 3 more weeks. They can do this. And again, I think they can control the clock a little bit here. They can run 4 corners if you want, because I don't believe a lot of the candidates are in play. Joe Brady might be in play in the Saints, so they could move quicker than you. And then Kellen Moore, again, I don't think he's going to be that much in play in Jacksonville. So if he goes to Dallas, and then everybody else, like, they ain't getting anything, I don't think. So you're not playing against others right now. Although I will readily admit, we didn't think we were playing that much against the Tampa Bay Bucks in the Liam Coen stuff. I wouldn't have given it that much of a chance that he goes back. Certainly was a percentage because you knew they were going to make a pitch, but I didn't think it was going to happen. So you never know. Saleh might be like, all right, I'm out of here. I'm not doing this charade. I'm going to San Francisco. You lose him.
Yeah.
Right? But again, there are plenty of options to land on right now in Jacksonville. So I think, I think they could restructure. I think you got to bring Brady in. I think you got to bring Monken in. And I think you got to a little bit take your time, which is really weird to say because you're going to keep taking bullets now. But you almost have to take your time, Hamby. You can't go, oh, we got to go get Saleh. This would be a panic move, in my estimation, if they announced Saleh as the guy over the weekend. And again, nothing to do with Saleh. I like Saleh. I just don't like the optics of it at all. Like, you're just piggybacking bad optics with bad optics.
Right.
So don't do that. Don't do that. I bet they're inclined to do it, but don't do it.
It wouldn't almost seem to me as much of a panic as it is a reactionary response. And I think some of the things that fans want is for the Jags to finally be the initiators and the go-getters and the people who are first, and then other teams respond to us. And I don't necessarily know if I have a lot of examples based off of that, but just in this last, we're kind of dealing with the scraps now. I don't think anybody can make an argument that who they're picking from now is exactly who that was at their top of the board 2 weeks ago, right? We know that Ben Johnson and Liam Coen had to be at the top of the board, and now it's reactionary. It's based off of what other teams and guys are doing instead of because this is why for the Bears, people might have said you could have listed that as a panic because they didn't even bring Ben Johnson in for an actual in-person interview. But why is that move being praised? Because they went and got it. They weren't reactionary. They were the initiators. They said, this is our guy. I don't care if it's not the wisest thing to bring him in, do all of our due diligence, take all of our time. We're going to make fun of our 20 people that we're interviewing. We're going to make sure that everything is in place, Rooney Rule, everything, so that when we decide, it's done. And they did it. And nobody's batting an eye at the fact that they didn't even really bring him in for a real interview because, look, they had a plan and they executed it, and they weren't dependent on any other team or coach to make it happen.
Yeah, it's a lot of optics. I'll give you the New York Jets, right? I bet they wanted Ben Johnson to come in and interview. He wouldn't take their interview. Mm-hmm. He never got out there, and they interviewed 20 people, and they couldn't even get Ben Johnson to interview.
Right?
You think they wanted Vrabel? Absolutely, they wanted Vrabel. They land on Aaron Glenn, it looks like, and that's okay because he's a popular name in the cycle, but they never let it get to a point, where it looked like they were going to get Ben Johnson or Vrabel.
Even now, It doesn't look good for them because Glenn was there yesterday, and there were reports.
Yeah, they wouldn't leave the building.
Yeah. And we still don't have a deal in place. So it's like, what's going up there?
But again, so a lot of this stuff is optics. But here's what I would say about all that. You forget about the optics, like when the guy gets hired. My point is, you don't care about the optics. Austin said this too. Don't worry about it. Don't make the mistake of worrying about you can't fix the optics right now. You already made your bet. So go get the right person, whether it takes 4 days or 14 more days. And believe me, I don't want to talk about this damn thing for 14 more days. But if it's the right move for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I think that's probably the way to go, is take time. Now, it might settle on 7 days. The Bills could easily lose, and you bring in Brady and Monk, and you got your guys in. Now you make a decision. That could happen by next Wednesday, right? So we don't know how the time frame's going to go, but I'm just going to say it again. The Jags should not have a coach by the weekend. They should not have a head coach now by the weekend. I don't like their process if they have a coach by the weekend. That ain't good. That means they freaked out and they panicked instead of taking a step back and take a breath, which is really what I think they have to do. We probably all have to do it, but they definitely have to do it. All right, we didn't really talk much about Trevor. I want to talk more about Trevor. How does he factor into this? Like, what? Seriously, I mean, Trevor knows the pulse of you guys, the fans. He does it better than anybody. I get made fun of for talking about that sometimes. He's great on the mic. He's great. That press conference, the only time you felt good in the last couple of weeks was when Trevor Lawrence took the mic. The only time you felt good as a Jags fan. That's how good he is at understanding it. Yeah, he's not watching this show, but he's hearing it. He's hearing you. He gets it. He knows it. He sees what's going on. He's not locked in 5 hours a day on it, but he gets it. And he knows what the Jags look like right now. He's certainly aware of the noise on Bulky, even if that guy gave a $275 million check, right? There's reason for him to absolutely love Trent Bulky. And the players feel different about the GM than you do, just by nature.
Yeah.
It's not as big a deal. But he also, I think, now understands it. And he probably had conversations or started looking up or whatever with some of these candidates, from Ben Johnson to Liam Coen, and maybe even the Joe Bradys of the world and the Todd Munkins of the world, even through that first round. I don't know if there's actual conversations. I'm just saying there's definite homework being done. Why wouldn't you be invested in that? He gave his 2 cents to Shad Khan, and it certainly feels like it carried weight because it certainly looks like Shad Khan wants to go on the offensive side of the ball. So Trevor's an important part of all this. But what's he thinking? Like, is he going to sooner or later, or his camp be like, what the hell are they doing? Because everybody's saying it. You can't avoid it.
Right.
Let's talk Trevor when we get back here on the Brent Austen Show. Jason Hamby along as well. Austin had to run, get a workout in down South Florida. He'll be back and join us again tomorrow. We had all these kind of Liam Coen background interviews lined up for the next couple of days.
Scratch him.
I'll cancel those. Now we start doing some work on some others. I mentioned the offense of the Jags at Everbank Stadium frozen because of that camera. So is the Jags coaching search. Frozen in time right now here on this Wednesday, January 22nd.
When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at NimnickBuickGMC.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness. And most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC. We are professional grade.
Happy New Year for the UNF Ospreys, and basketball season is in the teeth of conference play right now. A slow start for the men's team out of the gates with 3 straight losses, but then they broke through in the win column with a win over Bellarmine. The offense scored 98 points in that one. A long way to go, including a stretch the next few weeks with a chance to go on a winning streak.
8 home games in the next 3 weeks for the men's and women's basketball team combined. So check out UNFOspreys.com for the latest in news, schedules, results, and tickets. UNF Arena is a great place to watch a game, so go check them out. And while the hoop teams are battling some snow while on the road, the spring sports season has already arrived with the men's tennis program notching its first win under new coach John Collins. Swoop with the Ospreys in the winter and the spring, inside and outside. Check out UNFOspreys.com for all things Ospreys. I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants.
We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter.
Right now, save $1,000 or more when you bundle a Connecticut Premier Softener with a Connecticut K5 drinking water system. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic. From bumper to tailgate, I'm making this truck mine. It's everything that I wanted and more. From the field to the gym to weekend adventures. This truck's built for my journey. Bozard Built. Customized for your lifestyle, built to exceed your expectations. Check out the inventory and available options at bozardbuilt.com. Unleash your dream ride. Customized, covered, and Bozard approved.
New to town or always been in town? Everyone is always looking for a good pizza place. Our place is Donato's Pizza. We love it and still do love it. When I tell my family I'm coming to Donato's, they say, wait a minute, you got to order some for us. So this is not all for me. Let me tell you what the Martineaus get when we put an order in. Well, pepperoni pizza, we usually get more than one of these. And then there's the works, a little bit of everything. And then this is the pizza that can be polarizing for some out there. I don't know why. Hawaiian pizza, some love it, some don't. At Donato's, you're gonna love it, especially with that cinnamon sprinkled on top. Try the pizza my family likes or try your favorite. Right now, you can use the code BRENT20 and get 20% off your order. Every viewer and listener is important to us, and at Donato's Pizza, every piece is important. From fresh ingredients to the dedicated team members and you, the valued customer. Donato's Pizza, where every piece comes together for a winning combination. Jack's Beach and Mandarin locations. Donato's Pizza, every piece is important.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
All right, so there's the list. Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel, obviously in the books, Jags, Jets, Saints, Cowboys, Raiders, and Liam Coen will not be a head coach of one of those teams. Unless, like, the Dallas Cowboys call him and he takes that job. Which, why not?
Nightmare.
All right. Just keep the nightmare scenarios going. Brent Martineau along with Jason Hamby, Brent Austen Show. Austin missing the noon hour here as he got a workout in. You can always listen to the podcast, by the way, first couple hours. We found out during the show about the Cohen stuff, and yeah, we might have lost our mind a couple of times. Austin was broken. We were silent. We also had some fireworks on the show and a smoke alarm, so a lot to get into on your ride home. If you want, and the podcast goes up at 1:30. You can listen each and every day. You can also go back and check it out on social media each and every day. It stays up there, and we'll put some clips out from the show too, and I think we already are doing that. Liv's doing that on the Action Sports Jax Twitter handle if you just need some snackables from the show. But we appreciate you checking it out and listening here on YouTube and Twitter and Twitch and Facebook. And, of course, on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. Jordan Schultz just in the last 20 minutes. According to sources, Schultz is an insider for Fox, I think it is. I think Fox. Robert Saleh flying into Jacksonville on Thursday for a Friday meeting with Shad Khan. And remember, he's the only one that has actually done an in-person interview.
Right.
Because he could.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to meet with Shad, Trent Baalke, and others. With Liam Coen out of the running, many around the league view Saleh as a potential favorite, though it wouldn't be surprising if the Jaguars expanded their head coaching search. So I don't think Schultz is telling you anything new. We are discussing those kind of things. He certainly is going to interview, and Patrick Graham's scheduled to interview tomorrow. We'll see if he does the okey doke as well and pulls out of it. But the Jags actually need to do another interview with a minority candidate in person. Like, they need that Patrick Graham interview, whether it's for hiring Patrick Graham or not. So that's just the reality of the situation. Could this open up to Joe Brady? Todd Monken you can bring in at any time. And maybe even, I guess, a Kellen Moore, or in a desperation kind of situation, do you even look at a Mike McCarthy, or something like that? So, again, the Jags could land in an okay way here. It's just going to be very clunky getting there. It's the clunkiest one we've seen yet for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I've been covering this team for 17 years now, coming up on March 1st, so we've seen a lot of different coaching changes, and this is by far getting into the clunky nature more than any other, it appears. Chicago obviously introducing Ben Johnson. He's saying all the right things, about, hey, I was most afraid of Chicago this year. I thought they were going to have a big year, and more than anybody else in the division. Yeah, right. No, it wasn't probably not Minnesota, but Green Bay, I think, would have been hands down the team to worry about the most in that division.
Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, and DJ Moore all in the front row.
That's cool. So, yeah, they listen, it'll be really interesting to see if this guy's his home run as everybody thought in the cycle. That's what's going to be fascinating, because we do this every cycle. We just don't know, right? And he's getting a marriage with Ryan Poles there, who's done an okay but not great job. And are they going to fix some other things? What will they do? They're in a pretty good spot in Chicago. That's a good gig. It's a good gig with Caleb Williams, the quarterback, and obviously he's got to now make Caleb Williams even better. But, I mean, he's got a situation which, again, is a lot like the Jags, right? They got a Dunze, young receiver, first-round pick, and they got Caleb Williams. Jags, Trevor Lawrence, and they got Brian Thomas Jr. Mm-hmm. The difference is the rookie quarterback contract versus now a $275 million contract, which might have been appealing, honestly. So Joe McCarthy, yeah. Is that a political guy? Yeah, I probably didn't even know that. That's how much I pay attention to politics. I don't know why I said Joe. I don't know if I looked at somebody's name, like on Twitter or something, and said Joe. But it is Mike McCarthy. Brent Martineau, Jason Hamby. And what about Trevor Lawrence? That's what we teased before the break. What is Trevor thinking? What is the league thinking about Trevor? I think we have to ask that question. I mean, you had two guys. Urban Meyer got back into coaching because Trevor Lawrence was getting drafted. Doug Peterson got back into coaching and took this job, and I know he didn't have a ton of them, but he was holding a Lombardi trophy and said, I want to work with this guy. And I know he wasn't crazy in front of the microphone sometimes, but behind the mic and then off the records, he really, thought highly of Trevor. Mm-hmm. Like that's the fact part. I know it didn't come out like that all the time to some. I didn't read into that as much as everybody else, but the bottom line is he thought highly of Trevor. Ben Johnson said, I got Caleb Williams, maybe contract and a lot of other things. I get it. But if we're just talking about the quarterback now, the quarterback's the most important position in sports. The quarterback's more important, in fact, than the GM. All right? So we saw a couple of guys not worry about the GM and pick the quarterback. Now, it seems like we're seeing a couple of guys shy away from the quarterback, in part because of the GM and the structure and everything else, and go to a different spot. Mm-hmm. What does that say? And I'm not trying to incite that it says anything, because I'm a Trevor guy. Like, I believe in Trevor. I think Trevor still's got a lot in there that's untapped. Mm-hmm. But it is interesting if you put it in that context of the last two coaches versus these most recent coaches that the Jags were interested in.
Yeah, Here's what I don't think is happening. I don't think Trevor's like, man, these coaches don't want to work with me. I think that's the last thing that he's probably thinking. But I think on the flip side, look, we say often on the show that the players love Baalke because he's the one that paid them. That Trevor probably is a big fan of Baalke because he was the one that offered him truly the $275 million contract, and that's how most of the players feel. But I think this is one of the first times where the questions really start to get raised because the players are asking the same thing too. They're asking why are we not even getting a second interview? It's one thing if we don't get them, but it's why are we not even getting a second interview with Ben Johnson? Why are we not getting a second interview with Aaron Glenn? Why are we not getting a second interview with Liam Coen? Okay, and the players know. We heard it every single season, every single game. The roster is good. The roster is at least much better than how they performed. It's not the roster. It's not the cap space. It's not the draft picks. It's not the location. It's certainly not the salary tax or whatever. So what is it? And I think really for the first time, at the very least, this is going to create some distrust. I don't know what level, but the players are going to say, man, well, if all these other coaches don't seem to trust, then there's even a little. Austin talks all the time about wanting to have everybody on the exact same page, exact same mission, exact same belief. There's got to be a little bit of disbelief of every time that Baalke goes and signs a free agent now in this offseason, if he's the guy still, in the draft. Because if nobody else trusts him, and they say that he's not good and he's not a good partner to work with, there's some disbelief that ears its way in. It crafts its way in. I think the players are going to feel that, so it's going to be like, well, look, if everybody else says we have a bad GM, then maybe we do, and they're going to start to question things from the top.
Yeah, and I think you do wonder how much that comes in. I think that's a conversation had for us on the outside more than them on the inside. I think that's a conversation had for their agents more than even the players. I think, again, you talk about the players. I think the players have a good experience here in Jacksonville. Like they like it here in Jacksonville. I don't hear a lot of people complaining. Now, I'm not telling you they would rather be in Miami or Vegas or anything else. I mean, there are some guys that want to party or do whatever else, but we're also seeing like every guy in the Jags locker room at this stage of their career get married and have kids. Like this is a pretty good place to be, right? So I think there's there's one element of that, and then there's maybe they do need to step back and say, hey, wait, what is this big picture? Like we're talking about maybe the offense was predictable, or maybe we didn't get coached up this way, but maybe it is bigger than that. And do you worry about that? All right? Like, I don't know. I take your workplace structure, I take our workplace structure, and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, if I'm in a management role, I start thinking about the bigger picture stuff in the whole building with the company, right? If I'm going to shoot a story today on the snow up on the Florida-Georgia line, I'm not really thinking about the overall structure of the company or here and everywhere else as much. I might enter my mind when something happens like this, but it doesn't really, it's not what I'm worried about. It's not, Trevor kind of said it in his news conference, like, I got to stay in my lane too. You know, I mean, I got enough stuff to worry about as the quarterback of the football team. I got to do my job really well, not start doing everybody else's job. So I just don't think we can assume that these guys are as worried about the optics, perception, the GM, the ownership, the guys turning them down, all this stuff like we are. Like we see it way more big picture, I think, than actually those guys in their own bubble. But at the same time, as I said earlier, I do think Trevor is a guy that kind of understands the temperature and the pulse of this place. He has done a very good job of that over the last 4 or 5 years, and I think he gets it. I think that's what makes him so good on this thing when he addresses people, because he kind of gets it. He's talking to you a little bit. He knows it. He's the most real person in front of the microphone that this place has. Mm-hmm. He's as transparent as he can be. His messaging is usually terrific. So, like, but they don't. I don't think he's not sleeping well tonight because Liam Coen isn't taking the job either.
No.
I don't think. But is there one that's going to rub him the wrong way? There were some reports that the Trevor camp wanted Liam Coen. Okay, well, if that's the case and that's coming from Trevor, well, maybe this one does ruffle him. Like, what do you mean? It's a deal. And then maybe he picks up the phone and he calls Liam Coen. He's like, why didn't you come? And then Liam Cohen's like, well, listen, man, it's nothing to do with you. But look, they got some issues.
Mm-hmm.
And then that starts to infiltrate, right? So I have no idea. I'm just kind of creating scenarios and trying to figure out where that does exist. But I can't ignore the fact, and I just tweeted this. Urban Meyer came here for Trevor Lawrence. Doug Peterson came here for Trevor Lawrence. Ben Johnson just chose structure and Caleb Williams over Trevor Lawrence. Liam Coen just took a lesser job and Baker Mayfield over Trevor Lawrence. My point is, Trevor can't save you from all the warts anymore here in Jacksonville. Trevor kind of hid the warts. He can't do it all. Like you have to figure some of this stuff out for the benefit of Trevor, this football team, this franchise, and everyone else. And then Trevor's a big part of it for whoever comes in here. Robert Saleh's interested in this job probably because of Trevor Lawrence. Mm-hmm. So was Patrick Graham. So was Joe Brady. So was Todd Monken. But it seems like, at least at the moment, it's not the only reason these guys are going to take the job. And I think we just have to admit that. Now, maybe some other people admitted that a long time ago. But I think that needs to be at least discussed. And I think Shad has to admit that. Shad might have to look back and say, man, these other guys might not have taken this job or might have looked at this and this and this and this as not being great setup if we didn't have Trevor.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way they were getting Urban Meyer without Trevor.
Mm-hmm.
And then other things came into play as well. In hindsight, it would have been better if they didn't get him.
I just wonder if the front office, Shad and Trent, were overconfident.
Well, that's a little bit of a point, right? Like they believe this job's so good,
yeah,
right? And
so they didn't take their time. They
weren't
agree. As active. They,
I think that's a possibility. I don't know if you don't do your due diligence, you don't do all this stuff. But I said at the top of the show, or when we heard about the Liam Coen stuff, so in the first hour of the show, so this is unique. The Jags usually get what they want. Now, if we really sit back and look at what they've wanted, they didn't have a lot of competition over the years to get what they wanted. Now, was that just outside the box? Or was that because they didn't feel like they'd measure up against some of that competition? Did they get turned? See, what we never know is how many times they got turned down for potential interviews. Mm-hmm. Did they try to interview Dan Campbell in the process? I doubt it. I'm just saying, did they try? Did they try to interview Kyle Shanahan at one time? Did they try to interview Sean McVay at one time? Did they get turned down by these guys because of the way the organization was? We maybe don't know that. I mean, did anybody in a Raiders organization know until Friday when Coach Mularkey came on the show that he turned down the job twice? Turned down the interview twice? I don't know. I mean, maybe they did. I'm not sure. Like, that was news to me, but that was years and years and years ago, mm-hmm. right? Did they know that he turned down an opportunity to talk to Denver? Like, do we know that happens? So we don't know if it happened with the Jags. Like, we don't believe, like, there wasn't a huge belief that we thought Doug Marrone was going, like, the front guy to be the Jags job, get the Jags job in 2017. But in that cycle was like Josh McDaniels, he was very much in play. That whole Patriots kind of structure was very much in play. But then we also heard that, like, Josh McDaniels wanted to kind of blow it up, and Shaw was like, no, wait, we got more talent here. Like, people are telling us we've got more talent here. And they were right on that. Like, if McDaniels had come in and that's what he wanted to do, blow it up, start all over. Now, he might have been right about the quarterback in the long run. But the other part of they went to the AFC Championship game. Blowing it up wasn't the right thing to do if they went to the AFC Championship game. So, yeah, we don't always know all those kind of details, I guess, in that respect. I think we usually just find out who actually took the job. Or who took the interviews. Right, that's the thing that actually gets. But because the other ones, you don't put the request in for the interview until you know the guy's probably going to take it. That's exactly what we said about Ben Johnson. Like, everybody's like, oh, he's not going to take the job. He's not going to take even an interview because of Trent Baalke. Like, well, they wouldn't have asked for him if he wasn't going to take it. It wouldn't have got that far, is the point.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, this is it's really hard to know, but the more you look at it the way we're looking at it today, is like the Jags have actually gone outside the box for less competition than we think. As good as their job has been, and I haven't really thought about it from this view very much, but as you go back on it, how much did they have competition for Gus Bradley and Dave Caldwell? How much did they have competition for Tom Coughlin, Doug Marrone? None. How much did they have competition for Urban Meyer? None. How much did they have competition for Doug Peterson? Seemed very little.
Mm-hmm.
How much were they about to have competition for Liam Coen? Well, it turns out just Tampa, and they lost.
Right.
That's weird. And that's not just Baalke, by the way. That goes way back. That's kind of weird to me. The one time it looks like they were involved with a guy that everybody wanted was Ben Johnson, and they turned him down. He turned him down too. As good as the job has looked over the years, that part's interesting. And that's why I think we like this cycle, because the Jags were like, okay, we're not going to be the smartest people in the room here. We're going to go after Ben Johnson like everybody else. It looked like they were going after Ben Johnson like everyone else. They were trying to fall in line. What's interesting about this cycle is there's really not a next guy like that. Like, not everybody's going after Joe Brady. Not everybody's going after Liam Coen. There are some folks going after Aaron Glenn, and they did too. There were some folks going after Vrabel, but again, the Vrabel thing, everybody knew where he was going. So that was a hard one.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like there was a report on him, so they tried to go after him initially, and then it might never have materialized.
So if they go Brady, then he would have had 2 head coaching interviews here in the Saints.
Yeah, here in the Saints.
Monken would have been here.
And he might have
Bears.
been interviewed in the past, too. Like, that's the other thing. I went back and looked this up. Like, Dan Campbell, I was trying to find out. It's really hard to find it out, at least where I was looking, of how many interviews they had in their cycle. But what I found out about, like, a guy like Dan Campbell is that he had interviewed the year previous or 2 years previous for several other jobs. So he had interviewed before. That cycle, it didn't seem like he had interviewed for anybody else that I could find.
But my point is, anybody that we would say is reasonable as of now, we already know that they're only in competition with one other team.
Yeah,
there's no more of the Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn kind of candidates. Because Brady's got 2, Monken's got 2, Saleh 1, and I guess you could say that we're in competition with the 49ers, but that's not a head coaching job. So a couple years from now, regardless of who we're going to get, we're probably going to be in the same boat as in a similar light as what we said with Doug Peterson. Only two teams interviewed Doug Peterson. Why was that? Well, only two teams were interviewing anybody that's actual candidate this time around too. Yeah. And again, why was that? Who knows? Like, listen, the Doug stuff worked for a while too, and we weren't asking that question. I even asked Doug that question, but again, Doug was in the spot where he's in the mid-50s. He's kind of in the Monken role right now, where those people aren't going after that kind of guy as much. Everybody wants the shiny new toy and the younger person and everything else. And maybe the Jags do too, and that could land Joe Brady. All right, let's do this. I think we're behind on break, so let's get to one. We'll hit a break. We'll come back. Brent Austen Show. We wrap up here on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. Obviously, the news of the day, Liam Coen back in Tampa. Jags move on. I think they should move on slowly. Does that bring in Brady? Does that bring in Monken again? Does that bring in others? Maybe even a McCarthy or someone else. We will see. Brian Schottenheimer. Schotty.
What are they saying? I can't see it.
Planning a second interview with Schotty. They met for 4 hours yesterday and are electing to sit down with him again today.
So the story out of there with Jane Slater, I think, who covers the Cowboys, said that they were really looking at him for everything. Like maybe if not the head coach, the OC. So it sounds like they really want to keep Schottenheimer involved in the organization. I still think this screams Kellen Moore going to Dallas, and I'm not the only one that thinks that, by the way. So I wouldn't even waste my time if I'm the Jags with Kellen Moore.
I wouldn't either.
At this stage. We'll be right back. It's one of the hot spots in the area.
Welcome you to String Sports Brewery out at the beach. Big crowd on hand tonight. The fans are here.
And now, the newest hot spot at the beach is open. String Sports Brewery in Jax Beach has opened its doors with rave reviews.
We're going to be fans forever. cozy up to the bar, grab a seat in the sports-themed restaurant, or grab a seat outside and feel that breeze coming off the beach as the weather warms. Just like the original location in Springfield, try the popular beer menu and come for lunch or dinner too, because the food is fantastic.
He's got some exciting news heading into 2025 as well. Christian Kirk.
It's where we hosted Jags Report Live in the football season, and the String Sports Brewery staff can't wait to host you.
Hey, welcome back here to String Sports Brewery. And if you haven't checked out the new location in Jax Beach, which many of you have, you got to do it.
String Sports Brewery, now with 2 locations in Springfield and now open in Jax Beach on Penman Road.
2024 provided plenty of memorable moments for the Jacksonville Armada on the pitch, including another conference championship game appearance for Tommy Krasanovich's under-23 men's team.
Is it in the dying moments?
Debuting this year for the first time, the girls in blue, as the Armada fielded a women's under-23 side in the WPSL and made its presence known with some highlight moments.
Potential goal of the season.
Then attention turned to the future, with MLS Next teams representing the Armada badge in 3 age divisions this fall, including an under-19 squad ranking among the best in the state. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet and Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the net for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet and all things footy. That's every Thursday at 2 p.m.
You trust CGC to make your water great, and now you can trust CGC with your plumbing needs as well. Fast, convenient scheduling, licensed and insured. A quick call away at 904-552-1242.
You never know when you're going to have an issue with a shower, toilet, or maybe it's a sink that sometimes is easy to fix. All right, let's be honest. I'm not fixing anything. I'm totally staging this because when I have a plumbing problem, I call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing.
Trained professionals, transparent pricing, customer satisfaction. Small problem or even a bigger issue. Right now, save 10% off a new Rinnai tankless water heater. The experts with 25 years of experience at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing can do it all. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. For a limited time, CGC is waiving the trip charge on all related plumbing calls. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
Here on Spring Sports Media Day on Action Sports Jax.
It's an opportunity, an education beyond the classroom and the sports arena. Life skills, testing skills, social skills. It's called High School 912, a program focused on maximizing the growth of students in academics, sports, and life. And here's your chance to get involved. If you're a local business, or if you just want to make a donation to help support programs like ACT and SAT boot camps, career days, Leadership Academy, Financial Literacy Academy, and so much more.
Another Nice High School Panther, Jack Cole.
High School 912 supports and hosts high school sporting events and several media days throughout the year. For more information on how you can get involved, visit jaxhighschool912.com.
Baker Sports is local sports. Uniforms from Pop Warner and Little League to travel ball, high school, and college. They make you look good. They help you play good. Baker Sports has been helping families make memories that will last a lifetime with their Baker's Buckets. We've got a lot of these filled with baseballs and softballs in the garage. I've been throwing batting practice to Ty and Kaylee for years, and also sit on the Baker's Bucket, catching Kaylee while she practices or pitching. Baker Sports is homegrown, and a lot of employees that used to play on local ball fields now work for Baker Sports, now helping you look good, play good, and make memories of your own. Visit bakersport.com to see what Baker Sports can do for you. Custom apparel, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, embroidery, screen printing, and more. Baker Sports is local sports, from Jacksonville to anywhere in the Southeast. Bakersport.com.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
A wild day around here. The envelope game, that's the big envelope mailbox that we have. And
I got to believe everybody's names are wrong. We'll find out at the end of the process, or we may just open it back up round 2. We'll see if we do it that way. I don't think we're going to do it that way. But if I had $1 million to give away, I think I might be keeping my $1 million in that game.
I think so too.
Brent Martineau, Jason Hammy, Brent Austen Show, Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network. We put a bow on this one today. One thing I'm going to get away from this and forget about it. Did you see the college basketball poll last week?
Mm-mm.
So at one time, and I don't know the way it finished, but in the week, 18, I think it was 19 of the 25 teams ranked lost.
Oh, yeah.
That is wild. 19 out of 25. Now, a lot of those teams were the SEC beating each other up.
Right.
But still, it could be a wild tournament coming up in March. And I thought that would be the case last year. I think I overhyped it a little bit. I think it was a good tournament last year, as I remember it, but I thought it would be a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
But it was still good. I just think I thought it would even be a little bit more crazy based on the way the year had played out, was my prediction. And I think we might get a little bit of that this year. I mean, the SEC is so deep. We'll see where they get seeded. But it looks like we've got a lot of upsets throughout college basketball, at least to this point. Sorry, guys, just want to talk college basketball or something else other than the Jags trying to find a coach. Oh, how about Ichiro? Good. Yeah, we should have talked about it. How about Ichiro?
How about the one guy who didn't vote for Ichiro?
Yeah, that
Stay
always
hot.
happens. I'm like over that part of the story. Like, Mariano's the only one that's got the 100%, right?
I'm glad Billy Wags got in.
Yeah. I got to be honest with you. I do this from a total name recognition, and I'm not as deeply involved with the stats as I used to be. So I don't go back and look at like, oh, should they have gotten in? I'm not a snob when it comes to the Hall of Fames.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind people being in the Hall of Fame. I know some are like the Hall of Very Good or whatever. It's like, yeah, it doesn't bother. These guys are great players. I mean, you're talking about the 1%. We forget that. I mean, so few players make it to this part anyway. And then to even have the kind of numbers they have, the long careers they have, the outstanding highlights they have, yeah, I'm cool with those guys being in there. I look at the Hall of Fames as historical museum-type places that you bring your kids to and you teach them about the game. Or when you're older and you'll go back and you're like, hey, I remember that, or that was fun, or you're reminded of it. Like, that's what they are. Like, I don't know why people take this stuff so personal. It's not it's not like you're getting snubbed instead of Wagner or Sabathia. Now, that being said,
I do hope Andrew Jones gets in.
Well, that's fine. But that being said, I would not have told you if you had asked me 3 days ago without paying attention. I don't pay attention to the Hall of Fame stuff anymore. I used to when I was in Albany because it was right down the road and we would cover it. But I would not have guessed that Sabathia and Wagner would get in. I wouldn't have guessed it. That's not saying they're not deserving to get in, but from the name test is where I go.
Right.
I would not. Now, Ichiro, you knew he was getting it.
Right.
I'm fascinated by Ichiro because not only the 99.7 or whatever it was, but that is really how people view him. Like, there's usually debate about guys. And then there are just some that are so great. And in our world, if you think about baseball world, even the greatness of players has been debated because of steroids most recently.
Right.
Like, Barry Bonds is one of the great players of all time. He should be in. But he's marred and scarred because of the steroids. The Roger Clemens of the world, the everybody else. But the cool thing about Ichiro, and I just don't think we get too many of these athletes anymore, where you can be like, oh, yeah, no doubt. That guy was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2 different countries, by the way, he was awesome, and still played like the longevity to be able to play in both spots the way he did. And you heard about a lot of Japanese players over the years being good. I mean, all the way from the Hideo Nomos to the Ichiros, and now obviously we have Ohtani.
Mm-hmm.
But I really feel like Ichiro was the one that delivered.
100%.
Right? Like, he was the one I was like, wow. Okay, because you're always thinking if you're from the United States, you're like, well, Major League Baseball is the best baseball. Like, this is it. Like, this is the. And then there are people that say, hey, some of these guys can really play over here. Like, it's that good.
Hideki Matsui helped, but Ichiro was the guy.
Yeah, but Ichiro was the guy. And again, you've had good Japanese players and more now that all play on the Dodgers, it seems like. But Ichiro delivered. And it's like, hands down, he was great, and and it was really cool to watch him hit because it was like he was playing softball half the time. I mean, he was literally a guy that slap hit. And you just don't see it. I'm surprised we don't see more of it just based on the fact that we watch Ichiro play for as long as we did.
That's a good point.
You know? And
you would have think you'd see more.
Well, the game doesn't allow for it, quite frankly.
Right.
You're not in the lineup if you do that, it seems. But anyway, it was good to see Ichiro get in, and I think that's pretty cool when you're as good as everybody thinks you are. Let's say that. I just saw it. Maybe I missed it. Maybe it was on Twitter. I thought it might be on YouTube. Maybe this is it. Brent, why didn't they do an in-person interview with Graham the first time? That way, at bare minimum, the Rooney Rule is met instead of having him on a Zoom call. Bad process all around. Shot as a sham. John, I don't know the particulars of why they didn't, but the bottom line is, we said earlier in the show, and I was talking about it, that I think the process is even wrong by Bulky leading the search. So Bulky's leading the search with Shot. And so if he's leading the search, he even did that part wrong in my estimation when it comes to Ben Johnson and so far Liam Coen, that you still actually can't even offer anybody the job even Wednesday afternoon, and two guys have already turned it down before you even offered them. That ain't good. What a day. My man Rich Becker says, just don't go with a coach this year and get John Harbaugh next year when his contract runs out. Good luck, Liam Coen. Thought we were going to have a roadie guy around here. Have a good day. If you need a quality play this football season at your home, call That One Painter First Coast. Locally owned and operated, experienced employees, no builder-grade materials. And there's more, and for that, we throw it to Noah Schlicksup. That One Painter First Coast can apparently help your kicking game, too.
Well, after my failure on skinny sticks last year on Creekside game day, I've spent a lot of time out here at Creekside practicing my kicks. There's only one issue.
How is that even possible?
The good news is I know exactly who can help. That One Painter can handle all your painting needs, from field goal posts to cabinets to stucco. They got you covered. Though they may not be able to help with my kicking, they can certainly help with the posts.
Call That One Painter First Coast today for all your painting needs at 904-495-1373.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers! And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
Burgers or breakfast, you can get it all at Whataburger. Try something new on the menu or an all-time favorite like the Whataburger Patty Melt.
And now you can have breakfast here at Whataburger 12 hours a day, 11 p.m. until 11 a.m. Menu items like the bacon taquito, sausage taquito, honey butter chicken biscuit. Whether you work the late night shift, just want a snack early in the morning to get your day started, or a little pick-me-up late in the morning, 12 hours a day, breakfast served, 11 p.m. until 11 a.m.
A dozen locations in Jacksonville. You can order pickup or delivery and download the Whataburger app. New rewards members get free Whataburger items when placing their first online order. Just download the app. And for us coffee drinkers, Whataburger has all new hot coffee and iced coffee too. Satisfy that coffee craving at Whataburger 24/7, and it comes in a variety of flavors. Burgers, breakfast, coffee, and so much more. Whataburger, just like you like it.
For the game day hustle and every day in between. Juggling my show, Jags Social, to going under the Friday night lights and a social life, It's a daily tournament, but this ride, MVP status. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus isn't just my car, it's my personal locker room, office on the go, and VIP lounge on wheels. Let's talk tech. My profile remembers everything from customizing my dash display to setting the ambient lighting and my signature scent. And wireless charging, essential for live tweeting scores. Whether I'm packing for a beach day with friends or heading to the gym, there's space for every passion. After dominating all day, this becomes my recovery zone. The massage feature is like having a personal PT on call. Life's a non-stop game, but with this ride, I'm always on my A game. The 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Drive your passion.
If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit. When you hear that, you think Bono's Pit Barbecue, a staple in Northeast Florida now for 75 years. A place that feels like home with friendly service. A meeting place for friends, family, or business occasions. On the menu, the corn nuggets are a favorite in our house, but there's something for everyone. Sandwiches, platters, salads, sides, desserts, and family feasts. You see Bono's all over the place in Northeast Florida. You know, there are almost 20 locations in the Jacksonville area now, so stop on by, sit down, and dine in with Bono's. You can also take it to go. There are drive-thrus in many of the locations, and they have delivery options too. Just download the Bono's app to make things easy. I signed up for the loyalty program, and you can too, to get special offers. If Jacksonville is home, few things feel more Jacksonville than Bono's Pit Barbecue. Celebrate 75 years and many more to